Reaper had to coach against some super rosters. He had to coach versus.
Please.
You don't think
Child,
so?
please. Wait a minute.
Adults, explain to me.
Listen, you're the same person who judged Jensen is worse than Bjergsen because Jensen loses against Bjergsen and
That's
Dobelev.
not the only reason I said Jensen was worse than Bjerg.
But now, magically, we're supposed to feel sorry for Cloud9, the team that you would tell me if I asked you at any point in the last 2 years, lineup's fucking amazing, got great players at every position. Would you change any players, Loco? Not unless I can get caps. No, not unless I can get caps or something like that. You know, like you wouldn't change out Niski, mate. You wouldn't change out the only player you would probably change on this team is Sneaky, right?
For sure.
Right, this is going to be episode 84 of Listen Loco. Just a little disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. Loco booked this episode, not me. Like, you know, I would go for some straight fire guest. I'd get like one of the people who commentate the league, maybe someone who won the league. Loco's approach, more like Reapered, you know, a fellow countryman of his, both of them had to go abroad to ply their trade, couldn't do it within the doors, you know, the boundaries of Korea because nobody wanted them, quite frankly. And they didn't fit into the system. They were both rebels. They were people who wouldn't work within that infrastructure that Monty so loves and exaggerated for so many years. And so, much like his beloved Reapered, he hasn't drafted the right champion, has he? He's picked someone who won, or almost won, a third place match.
I think Artemis is a great game.
You're stuck with me. Sorry.
You have to understand, that's one of the areas, Loco, where there's different tiers to the scene. You know, like the stories. If you work with Clutch Gaming, it's like, remember that time we almost won that match. Other teams, it's like, remember that match we won. You know, it's different layers. So, but in its own way, interesting. So actually, let's start there. Actually, what we'll do is let's get the third place game out of the way first, right?
Sure.
And then go on to the finals. It's obviously the finals, the main course of the meal, as it were. So in the third place game, which is an interesting detail people might not be aware of now, is like third place obviously in theory matters in terms of the circuit points aspect, but a change that is different this year, and I believe it's the same in NA as EU, right, is that they got rid of the thing where you automatically qualify just from being like second place on points. You know, like in the past you could get auto qualified, whereas at least in LEC I know they made it where are you muted right now, Loco?
Me? No.
I can chime in.
I'm just going to say this. The problem is, like, we can hear you clicking when you do that. Okay. So, like, whatever. Anyway, no, the point is basically, like, in the past, there was teams, the obvious example is 100 Thieves last year. They qualified for Worlds because they came second in the first one, top 4 in the second, and then crucially, because Team Liquid won, they automatically got the second spot. No one else had it. Now what happens instead, as far as I know, is whoever would have had that second spot still plays a match, and they then play within the gauntlet or something along those lines. Is that correct?
It's not going to be like that for North America.
Yeah,
so for North America, TSM is the final boss of the gauntlet. It's going to be us versus FlyQuest in the first round, winner versus CLG in the second round. Winner against that plays TSM in the third round. And that will be the third.
So just the old system then?
Correct. It's just the old system.
LEC's doing the one where it's 2 players 3.
Yes.
Right, okay. I guess that makes sense because if you notice, actually the last few years, it's the European places where they test certain things out before they bring it over, so...
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think that there are certain problems with, like, you know, a 9th place team making it into Gauntlet. That's not to say that FlyQuest might not have improved. They're most likely going to be a very different team now than we saw during the regular season. At least I hope they are. So I'm still excited for that match. But, you know, there's some ideas where, like, I think one of my players had this idea that maybe if in summer you don't make playoffs, they take away your points you got from spring. There could be, like, numerous solutions, but I agree sometimes it is weird to sort of have a weaker team end up in the regional qualifier.
Oh, well, it depends. I would say like some variant of that concept is probably the final solution.
Sure.
Like for example, if you win the spring split and then don't make playoffs, people are going to be outraged if you do that. So I'd maybe say something like, you know, you have to make playoffs to fully activate your points. Like maybe you get half as many if you don't or something, you know, that would maybe be more reasonable because in that scenario, basically what I would do is I'd actually run a test and see what the outcome is. So what you probably want there is, if you had the extreme that you won the spring split but you didn't make playoffs, you probably should just be in the gauntlet but just be low down. So I think that would even be the compromise. But anyway, yeah, that's all by the by. But the point is, it still matters whether you win this third place match.
Oh, absolutely.
It's still worth it for where you can end up in the gauntlet, etc.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. There's only one team in history that's ever won 3 best of 5s in a row in Gauntlet to make Worlds, and that was Cloud9. It's only been done once. So being able to start as the second seed instead of the first game is a huge advantage. Gauntlet is incredibly grueling. It's crazy. You play a best of 5. If you win, you play another best of 5. If you win, you play another best of 5. So there's really very little time to develop new strategies and be creative. So if you feel you're favored, you can hide some picks in your first round. But if you can't do that, or if you feel you can't do that, then all your cards are on the table and these other teams get all the time to prep you. So it's challenging for sure.
By the way, since I didn't do the official introduction, right, this is Artemis. He is the assistant coach of Clutch Gaming.
Yes.
Now, one thing that needs to be said, right, is Loco, when we talk about this third place game, Clutch Gaming against CLG, right, on paper, the expectation was supposed to be that CLG would handedly win the match because everyone thinks CLG is supposed to be closer to the Cloud9s and Team Liquids of the world than they are to the Clutch Gaming, TSM, and everyone below. So I actually have to say, first and foremost for me, no matter the fact that CLG ended up winning, doesn't matter. The actual end result is they didn't meet that expectation. When I watched this game, one of the thoughts I had in this game was fuck, I think I might have overrated CLG a little bit. The team I thought was killing it during this split didn't look like they turned up for most of this match. That team with all the fucking clean macro, playing through all the lanes correctly. There was a lot of messy games in this series. What did you think of it overall?
The regular season, do you remember when we had Zabutin on and then he did a mini tier list? He said TL, CLG, and tier 1. And then Cloud9 below that tier. He didn't even have Cloud9 in the same tier as CLG. And the regular season version of CLG was amazing. Wiggly, Ruin. I think Ruin was overrated in regular season. Him getting third All-Pro was mind-blowing to me. But Wiggly, for sure, played way better in regular season than he did in playoffs. And talking a little bit about kind of the expectation of CLG versus Clutch, we saw CLG as this macro team that can scale, that if you aren't the C9s, if you aren't the Team Liquid, you can't challenge them. And myself included, I didn't think Clutch would get to a certain, this kind of a good start. And I also thought there was a level difference between CLG and Clutch in terms of what happens in a best of 5, sure, where CLG can start sniping out Clutch's picks.
By the way, as a quick aside, just as an abstract because I was thinking about when you said it there, actually, there's a reason also why if you want to use, in the past episodes when we were discussing CLG, we would always say the problem is, since Wiggly's such a fundamental part of their success and what's made them a better team, so much of the playoffs relies on him, but he is a rookie. I know technically he played in spring, but as I've said in the past, I'm going to count everyone who plays the first year or maybe even 2 years of their career sometimes as a rookie, if they haven't had experience, for example, because that's really what it's more about. It's not the technical definition. So the problem is, if you ever wanted to bet against a role, some cynical businessman, shorting a stock you think is going to fail, I tell you what, rookie jungler especially, because here's the other thing, you can win a lot of games and you can have a lot of times where you have one great game plan. In fact, actually, even the best junglers, sometimes you talk about the one game, look how they set them up. From the last game, he always did this path, so you did one extra diff. Well, the point is, how many variations are you going to have of that? And what if the other team, not only has their coaches staff been, if you're playing a team like CLG, has been drilling you on what Wiggly's going to do, but you get games to play against him. If you get a full 5 games to play against him, you could get really exposed if you're a rookie jungler. I wouldn't even blame you. That's why the classic example, obviously, that you go to is the one in Korea is Peanut, where because of the very bizarre system where they still use that gauntlet, but for the playoffs, Peanut played for the Rocks Tigers and just went straight into the finals. And it was the second ever best of 5 he played his entire career at the LCK level. The other one would be a relegation match. So it's not really a surprise that he then choked against SK Telecom. The guy never played a best of 5. He's used to playing a normal series. So obviously that's more of an abstract there, but going into this series itself, obviously you were on the other side of the equation. What kind of things were you planning for against CLG? What was the conception of them as a team from your side?
Well, from our side, we didn't really see this huge gap between ourselves and CLG. I think according to our expectations, we actually underperformed. We were expecting to win the series, and we were expecting to win the series pretty handily, I think. We've improved a ton over the past few weeks, and we're really confident in our preparation and confident in our play. And we felt like we were going to be the better team going into the series. And I think we showed shades of that in the first 2 games. But yeah, I think you make a great point about rookie junglers in best of 5s. I know that it's something that Lyra speaks about all the time, how different it is jungling in a best of 5 versus a best of 1 in the regular season. Being able to study the enemy jungler's path through the first and second game and build your strategy around what he's doing and be the better jungler through a best of 5 is something that Lyra excels at. So we were confident that there would be quite a big jungle gap in this series, especially with the way Lyra had been performing throughout all of playoffs. So that was one of the major reasons why we felt we were favored. Let's see. There was also the bot lane expectation. I think it was Stixay had some strong words for our bot lane and said that they were like one of the weaker bot lanes and that they should have no trouble. But again, I think our bot lane felt the same, actually, that this was going to be one of the weaker bot lanes that they would be playing against. So they were very comfortable in that matchup and expecting to do fine, and I think they did. So overall, we thought we matched up well. CLG, like you guys have mentioned, is a team that plays macro, or at least they try. They're very quick to go opposite if they recognize your overload. They have a very regimented system, and their macro is very predictable, but it's effective. And that makes them a dangerous team, especially in a best of 5.
Yeah, they're definitely the most systematic team and the most structured team in LCS. So my question to you would be, you guys succeed so much when you have key picks. I would say Rumble, Gangplank, Kiana. I'm missing Rumble, Gangplank, Kiana. Am I missing any?
Silas, maybe. I don't know.
I think it's those 3.
Yeah.
When you guys have these 3 picks, like you guys do amazing, but when you guys get targeted, you look like a different team. Is that something you were predicting going into the series? Like, we're going to get targeted on these picks, and what do we do afterwards?
What was the third one? Rumble, Kiana, who?
Gangplank. Gangplank is...
So like 2 of those are just 2 Huni champions, so make it more pointed. Like, those aren't just spread about the map, are they? 2 of those are Huni.
Yeah. There's this whole meme that Clutch can't win without their picks.
It's true though.
It's true. I mean, it's there, like the results.
It's not a diss, by the way. Like Fnatic will lose games if they don't have their picks as well. Don't worry. There's plenty of good teams can lose.
Absolutely. And we were expecting that we wouldn't get our hands on any of those picks this series. So we weren't preparing those picks this week. We weren't really playing them in practice. All of our guys have really deep champion pools. They do have champions that they excel in, and those are 3 of them. But we were preparing ourselves to play other stuff. We basically didn't touch those champions in scrims. So the fact that we got a game or a game or 2 was a nice surprise.
That's actually one thing that I found quite bizarre is all the analysts I know, that's what they credit actually Clutch's rise towards the end of the split and then strength in the playoffs is that they basically you figured out your game plan better. Like, here's what we should put people on. If we have those picks, here's the style that logically we can then play, which has been successful. And yet so many teams, the 2 teams you've faced in these big playoff scenarios, have basically allowed you to have those picks in a bunch of games. So, right, when that happens, my usual question would be like, did you scrim these teams before? And some of them like just think that because that's like a classic thing. I mean, sometimes that's like active disrespect. They think, we can give them that because we know how to deal with it. We can contain it as it goes. Is there an element of that at play?
Not really. You don't really scrim teams leading up to the match you play them, so they wouldn't really know what we're practicing. But just generally in scrims, like teams don't want to play against Huni's Rumble. He's so good on that champion that he'll just tilt the game in your favor instantly. So Rumble's a really common ban in scrims. And we rarely get our hands on those champions. And quite frankly, we rarely even practice them because we're already excellent at them and we excel at those strategies. So most of our time in preparation is spent going into other things. And as far as why teams leave them open, I think it's very, very difficult to draft against Clutch on red side right now with the fact that you basically have to ban Yuumi. If you consider the fact that we can only win on those 3 picks, which I don't think is true, but let's just, for the sake of the argument, let's say that's true. There's also Yuumi in the game, right?
And
so in that case, and Akali, right? So on red side, it's really, really difficult to construct a pick ban where you're denying everything. You most likely have to trade things or play your counters. So we were confident that on blue side, we would be getting powerful picks. Red side, maybe not so much, where there's more freedom to target ban on blue. But yeah, that's sort of how we saw the draft shaking out.
Okay. What do you think about the criticism towards when the reason you guys do so well with Rumble and Gangplank is you guys do this 10-minute Clutch Gaming Herald swap where Lyra will start Herald, bot lane will back, And then as bot lane's backing, Herald has already started, and the bot lane walks up, so you guys are the first ones to Herald. You guys can take a team fight there if you want. But if you just let them have the Herald, now you have Rumble and Gangplank in bot lane, and Rumble and Gangplank with their long range ults can defend 2v1 while you use Herald and push down topside. It was working really effectively in the TL series, or TSM and TL series, and it seems like teams are catching on, and they're not letting you guys do that, and they are so ready to fight you guys at that 10-minute. Like, once that allure of like clutch tempo play is gone, like, are you guys still good as a team?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, being able to split map with a Rumble or a Gangplank is a strategy that's been around since the dawn of those champions. So it's not exactly like these teams are surprised that Rumble is clearing
their way.
They
look surprised.
They can't be surprised, right? You're telling me professional League of Legends players are surprised that a Rumble is ulting a wave in a split map situation. I don't buy it. Okay. So there's no surprise factor there. But as far as our macro or this special sauce of like this clutch gaming Rift Herald, I don't know if you guys watch LPL this season, but all 16 teams in LPL are going for that 10-minute Rift Herald, and they will fight you. And there's different variations of the same play. Of course, you can, if you have tempo, you can recall your bot lane and just walk up there. If you have TP advantage on your AD, you can leave him. You can just even leave him and concede the Rift Herald and take all the bot plates. And I think we've showed different variations of the Rift Herald play across all our series. But yeah, I think Rift Herald is one of the most important objectives in the game, of course, if you're snowballing or if you're playing like a mid-game composition. And it's also a really effective way to force fights if you think you have better fingers, or if you think you're the more decisive team, or if you think you can engage better. So we weren't worried that teams would know it's coming, because what are they going to do about it, right? Like, either they choose to contest us, and that's what we want. We're very happy to take fights. We in the Team Liquid series, that was part of our strategy, where we were ready to out team fight them and we were ready to out skirmish them, and we would aggressively start neutrals and force them into these split-second situations where they'd have to make these quick decisions, and hopefully we could get some punishes off, and we did. So yeah, we were confident that if we played our game, it didn't matter what they did, we would just react accordingly and do well. But this whole narrative around the 10-minute clutch Rift Herald is a play that's been around since Rift Herald has been in the game. I think that North America as a whole has had pretty shoddy macro this year. Like, we see just this overload style where teams will put 4 or 5 people in the box around mid lane and just play for vision and kind of just sit there and are down to handshake and just take these handshake 5v5s around mid. And sort of don't really play the game through all stages looking to get advantages. So I think we'll see it at Worlds. I think we'll see it throughout, play-ins or whatever. Yeah, this is an effective strategy that more NA teams should have been using earlier. And it's a shame that they weren't, and it got like somehow branded as this clutch gaming thing, when it's just an effective strategy that any team could use pretty easily. I think it's not something that's unexpected, and it's not something that's even difficult to execute. So.
Right. The flip side of the way I set up the series you played for the third place games, where a lot of people were looking at it like, this will just show that CLG is like clearly the third best team here, etc. I think it actually had the opposite effect, because if you consider the teams Clutch played, you outright straight up beat TSM in a best of 5.
Oh, yeah.
You came close to beating to Team Liquid, and then, I mean, admittedly, the fifth game wasn't that close, but in theory,
it was a
chance to win that.
Yeah, it was a good series.
And then obviously in this one here, you also absolutely had your chances to beat CLG. Even though TSM by the end wasn't considered a top team, they still had the constituent parts of what was a top team last split. So
absolutely.
If you look at the 3 best of 5s in a row that you've played, it's hard to say that it's a fluke team, really.
No, it's definitely hard to say it's a fluke team. And I think that the narratives that have followed us through playoffs were definitely motivating for the players and the staff. Hearing things like, that was the worst Team Liquid has ever played, and the only reason that Clutch took 2 games off them is because Team Liquid played poorly. Same thing for the TSM series. People were saying, oh, wow, TSM must have really mental boomed if they lost to Clutch in 4 games. Like, how could anybody lose to Clutch Gaming? This whole time, the only people I think really knew how good we were the 7 people in the room during practice and on stage, and of course everyone else at the org. So I think it's people will start to see that Clutch is a team to be taken seriously and is a top team in the league. We definitely consider ourselves a top team in the league, and we expect to show that in Gauntlet.
Yeah,
like Loco, think about this statement. Right now, you literally can't even say TSM is a top 2 favorite to get out of the Gauntlet. They're not even top 2.
No.
That's not even unreasonable. Like, I'm not being a hater.
I think CLG Clutch are the favorites.
Totally legit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right now, like, TSM actually should not be going to Worlds, basically.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they do their own Cloud9 inspired run. Not impossible with their players, but it doesn't look like it, because that was the other thing to me that's significant, is if there was only one team, if it was just CLG, well, then even TSM could be like, well, maybe they choke, or maybe something goes wrong. It's going to be fucking hard work if you're TSM now. You've got to do work in these series.
This is like uncomfortable truth. Like, everyone's gonna die one day. Like, your parents will die before you, and one day you'll live without your parents. Like, TSM is not the favorite for the Gauntlet. They're not even the second favorite. It's just uncomfortable truth. Ugh.
Poor Loco. His favorite team, his pride and joy, his little jewel is falling down and might not even make it to Worlds. The tragedy.
Yeah. I mean, they just don't look good. I mean, going back to Clutch and going back to you guys' game versus TL, one thing I really did want to ask is, why'd you guys put Vulcan on Tom Kench? And I was so curious and like genuinely shocked you guys put Vulcan on Tom Kench. One thing I noticed about Clutch, you guys recently showed that Lyra can play Sejuani and he can be a good Sejuani, but throughout the season, there are certain picks that you guys stayed off of or you guys didn't have good result on that I thought was really core, which was Jarvan and Sejuani. You guys kind of bypassed that by being really good at Sylas and Skarner, and Vulcan always had to function as a primary engager for the team to function. Whenever he played Braum, he was a primary engager. Leona, Rakan, Alistar, like, you guys bypassed Lyra not being able to play primary engage with Vulcan being such a heavy playmaker. And when I saw you guys put him on Tom Kench for game 5, like, my jaw dropped. I was thinking, what is this coaching staff doing?
Yeah, so Vulcan, one of his strengths is absolutely the way he engages. He's engages very decisively. He plays playmaking champions very well. And a lot of what we do is enable our players to play to their strengths. And I think that's a trend you can see across our drafts. So yeah, whenever we do get the chance, we opt to put players in positions where they can succeed and positions where they feel confident. And I think that's really important. So we try to do that as much as we can. Tom Kench specifically, without going into too much detail about the thought process, I guess, behind that specific situation, it is a pick that we have prepared in practice for many weeks, and it's a pick we find great success on in scrims, and it's also a pick that Vulcan plays very well. I think he's a fantastic Tom Kench, especially the way he tethers and moves through fights. He plays the pick very well. There's absolutely an argument there that it doesn't necessarily fit his strengths, which we said are decisive engages, and it's sort of maybe a pick with a bit less proactivity. But in the moment, we were figuring that we were going to open something, right? This was game 5 against Team Liquid. They've seen 4 of our drafts. We were on red side, they were on blue side. They've had 4 looks to figure us out. We had to change something up, so we decided to open the Sona, and we felt we had a better chance of beating the Sona alone versus the Sona Tom Kench. So the Tom Kench was a takeaway there, and as well as it's a pick that Vulcan can play very well. So that's kind of the overarching theme behind the pick.
I remember you guys lost a Sona Tom Kench game, or Sona Tarek game way early in the season where you guys got 3 turrets and you guys weren't able to end the game. And after that, you guys banned Sona.
The Cody Sun tier Sona game? That one?
Where you guys lost to a Sona. Where
we lost to it. Okay.
Where you guys got 3 turrets and you guys weren't able to end the game. You guys got 3 turrets within the first 10 minutes and you guys weren't able to end. Yeah. And after that, you guys never opened Sona again. So you had so little practice versus Sona and you guys were still willing to open it.
Yeah, so it was a challenging back half of the split, let me tell you. When the coaching changes came in and Thomas and myself were brought in, we had a lot of work to do, and there was a lot of things that had fallen through the cracks. And being able to play against certain strategies is definitely one of them. So we had to prepare a lot of different strategies in a short amount of time, and I'm pretty happy with the work we were able to do and the growth we were able to show. But yeah, it was always going to be challenging, where I think we had 5 weeks regular season with the new staff. So 5 weeks to work with these guys. Most other teams had 9. So it definitely was a bit unfortunate that we, I guess, like the other teams had a head start, you could say, since the coaching change happened so late. But yeah, still, we were confident in our preparation, and we were confident we could play against it. And it was really a pick your poison situation. Like, we saw how competent Team Liquid is at playing Zyra Khan. Doublelift basically solo killed Sneaky in lane, like level 4 or something. I think all Core JJ did is like ignite the wrong target and Q Auto, the silver once, and she died. So Team Liquid is, I've mentioned this before in different mediums, but they're one of the hardest teams to draft against because they're so flexible and they have diverse champion pools and many strategies that they play at a very, very high level. So it was one of those things where they've seen what we have for 4 games in a row. We have to open something. Let's make a decision as a team and let's go from there.
Do you consider within your team, like, is Huni a primary carry?
Yeah, absolutely. Who's certainly a primary carry. You can see that in his play, in his statistics, and also he's a primary leader. I think he's an emotional leader of the team. Absolutely, like he brings a lot of energy. The guys feed off him really well, and I think a lot of players look up to Huni as well. So not only is he a primary carry, but he's also a leader outside of the game, and he's a vocal leader in game as well. So yeah, certainly a very valuable player on our roster.
Because earlier, like I said, Loco almost like disguised it when he just started naming those picks. 2 of those 3 picks were Huni picks. Sure. Well, here's the question, right? If Huni's a carry top laner, he's clearly the big name in your team, one of the stars. He's someone that people look to carry a big game, to be like go head to head with any other top player, right? Where was, aside, like, listen, in the playoffs, you played a little bit more Aatrox. There was a surprising lack of Aatrox during the split. If we go look at other picks, where's Kennen? Where's Jace? Where are any of these picks that, if you're like in LCK right now, these would be carrying the whole game. Like someone like Naguri just play Jace every time it's available. Like they'll just lock it straight in. So if you think Rumble, Gangplank, these aren't really like I'm going to carry the game from the top lane picks. So what's kind of the rationale for how you've been using Huni, or where's Huni at as a player at the moment?
Let's see. Okay.
Kled, there's the one I'd forgot. That's another
Kled,
one people would think, right? Sure.
Yeah. So without getting too much into like what or how we're using Huni and things like that, I can talk about, I guess, Huni's like preferences, so to say. He definitely enjoys playing Rumble and Gangplank. We know that. Like those are historically some of his best champions that he's been playing for a long time. But also one of Huni's biggest strengths is how flexible he is. So he's not just a player that can simply only play carries or, has to. He's not the kind of guy to demand Jace, right? Like Huni is not the kind of guy that you're in draft and he's like, look.
No need to demand it because, he's the carry player. So you just give him it, don't you?
Absolutely. But again,
you don't. So that's the question, right? You don't. So
sure. Huni has a good idea of what he wants to do and how he thinks that he can help the team win. And the coaching staff agrees with his perspective and we're all on the same page. So when we put Huni on carries, he has the burden of carry and we expect him to carry the game. And when we put him on a role player, we expect him to do his job and do it well. In most cases, he can do that very well.
Right, the answer there, Loco, was there's still a gauntlet to be played, so I don't want to answer that question.
Of course, definitely. He's not going to say it because of gauntlet.
Sorry, guys. Yeah,
probably not the best guest to invite. So,
I think
that one did you, Loco.
I think Artemis
didn't think that one through, did you?
I think Artemis is more than fine. Anyways,
didn't think that one through, did you?
I definitely thought about gauntlet, but anyways, Artemis. One thing I wanted to ask was when CLG got back on their mage picks for mid lane, or when you guys opened up Corki again, when Pyre Bebo played Orianna, they started to change the series around. Did you guys consider like it would get much harder? Like the first 2 games were just straight trolling from them, and a lot of the comments that were made is Clutch got overconfident after game 1 and 2. Like Pyre Bebo on Kiana, Pyre Bebo on Diana was pretty uninspiring, and when it got to the later games, when he got back onto his Orianna and Corki, it just shifted dramatically. Did you guys get overconfident in middle of the series and felt like you guys had it?
We were definitely confident the whole time, and overconfidence is certainly a possibility, but I think we should give some credit to CLG. I thought that they adapted very well during the series, and that was definitely where they had the edge over us as far as mid-series adaptations. PoE does have great success on these mage picks, and he's willing to play things like Syndra, Orianna top. And it's difficult to ban out all his mages, right? Because he has Azir, Corki, Syndra, Orianna, and then he can always go further down his list. And yeah, we certainly considered targeting his pool, especially in the second phase. For example, if like Syndra and Orianna are both open, you can just ban them both for 5, and then what's he going to pick? So yeah, we definitely thought about these strategies, and I'll give a lot of credit to CLG. I think that they adapted very well in this series. I think we were too slow to adapt, and I think that if we had made perhaps some better adaptations, it would have been a different series. But for the most part, I think it was gameplay related. First 2 games, we definitely out-mechanicked them, in a lot of situations where we got these like early advantages through fights around bot lane or whatever. And I think they were maybe disrespecting us, or maybe weren't expecting the level of aggression we were going to bring. And yeah, we definitely destroyed them the first 2 games. And then I think after that, they made an adjustment for game 3, which was like fine. We didn't think it was anything we really had to worry about, because in game 3, they lock in, Ashe Thresh 4-5. And that's going to be a prio bot lane, right? It's going to push in against almost any matchup, and any team in the world could do that whenever they want. Just pick Ashe Thresh, send it in there, you play for bot priority. They got 2 early Mountain Dragons, ended up picking up a 3rd, and then there was one play around. It was 22 or 23 minutes where they decided to take a tempo reset, concede the Mountain Dragon and their mid T1 tower, so they would have tempo on a Baron blitz. And they rushed Baron, essentially 50-50 the game on a Baron. We didn't contest well. We didn't manage to seal or create a team fight, and lost the game on that Baron. So after that game, we definitely weren't like overconfident still. We were frustrated, of course, that we had lost that game in such a fashion. And then after game 4 was where we needed to win the series. If we weren't going to sweep them, we had to win game 4. Game 4, we were back on blue side, a blue side draft. And if we didn't pick up the win in game 4, then we're going into game 5. CLG has all the momentum. They've seen 4 of our drafts, and they get to go on blue side and execute a good draft, which they were able to do.
It felt like in game 5, like you guys were checked out. Like in game 5, I'm not sure if you remember the exact moment. Biofrost is playing Thresh. He's in the middle of the map, like clearing a brush. And Demonte all-ins him on Kiana, gets insta-give, and you guys get caught in the aftermath of that fight. And that's where I looked and said, Clutch mentally checked out of this game. Like, they're not mentally in it anymore. Like, this is where you guys are out.
Oh, yeah. Well, checked out is certainly the wrong words to use. Like, checked out would be like, like some lack of care or lack of motivation. You're just like so tilted or frustrated that you like,
mentally broke.
Are checked. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mentally broke. I don't feel like we were there at all. It was definitely an exhausting series, and we do have young players on our team, and the threat of being reverse swept is always there. And like I said before, we had to win game 4, because after losing 2 in a row and getting reverse swept is hanging over your head, and CLG gets to go back on blue side, it's always going to be an uphill battle. And yeah, we certainly did not play well in game 5 at all, but the players were absolutely not checked out. That's for sure.
Was that the end of the discussion on the 3rd place 4th game? Is anything more needs to be discussed?
He's like, get me out of here. Like, let's move on.
Let's go to finals.
Right, let's talk about the finals then. So, like, in the finals itself, one thing that I think is quite interesting is, right, normally I don't like to go too heavily into the draft stuff unless there's something specific to talk about. Sure. But since game 1 started with an immediately contentious draft, and I actually get the sense, just because of how this series played out, it's almost inevitable in the later games we're going to talk heavily about the draft as well, because some of the questionable decisions Cloud9 made perhaps could have affected whether they in fact won this final or not. Not in like an absolute sense, like there's obviously a world in which you could have just lost 3-0, but the way it literally played out in this actual case, they potentially could have gotten advantages. So when you look at game 1, a game that Cloud9 lost, right, the draft that they took here, I'll give everyone it very, very quickly, right? So on the Cloud9 side, they had Karma top lane, already a fucking fan favorite. They had Svenskeren on Xin Zhao. They had Niski on Veigar. Yeah, in a real competitive game.
Veigar and Tozir.
They had Sneaky and Azazel were on Sivir and Thresh. But that's not all. Just like an infomercial, here's what you got extra. So you know where you buy the 1 knife, but you get 50 knives free. What they gave up to get those picks was they gave Team Liquid Aatrox top, Sejuani jungle, Azir mid, Zaya and Rakan bot lane, right? That sounds like win trading. That sounds like the deal was, you let me win game 1, I let you win game 2, just so you know, it looks like it's competitive, and then we play best of 3. Like, Artemis, give me could you give a devil's advocate? How could both sides of that exist? Like, it's one thing if I gave that crazy one for Cloud9, and then the Team Liquid one was all weird, and that seems like to a layman like a very stark difference. That you give them basically the power picks of the meta, and for yourself, you took some very unusual champions together.
Yeah, it was definitely a head scratcher for me at first, and the more I reflected on it, the more I understood what Cloud9 was trying to do, and I'll get there in a second. But first of all, I think that when you're drafting against Team Liquid and Team Liquid is on blue side, 99 times out of 100, they're going to get a draft that they're very happy with. So that's not saying that maybe Cloud9 gave up a little bit too much, where Team Liquid probably literally has exactly what they want. Like if they had to pick, it's probably literally those 5 champions. But Cloud9 certainly had a prepared strategy for this. And also what Team Liquid did is very predictable as well. That's what we have to consider. So first pick Aatrox, very transparent. And then with no Xayah ban.
I mean, basically what you're implying, right, which makes perfect sense, is in theory, Cloud9 also knew they could be facing this comp as they built their own. So they
guarantee it. I guarantee you that Cloud9 expected Team Liquid to pick Aatrox, and then I also guarantee you that when they didn't touch Xayah themselves, they knew Team Liquid would pick Xayah Rakan 2-3. 4-5s gets a little bit hazy, and maybe they were going off prep there, but still, I would expect them to still be on their preparation, considering they probably had the first 3 picks and bans completely mapped out. Okay, so let's get into the draft, because I think if you look at it in a vacuum and you're just picturing these team comps like running at each other 5v5 on mid lane at like 25 minutes, it's obvious that Team Liquid's composition is going to be favored, right? But
hope this isn't a game in the LCS, right? Go on.
Yeah. I hope we can play side lanes or something,
yeah,
right?
Sure, exactly.
Sure. Yeah, so, I think that if, I don't know if you guys remember this game exactly, but there was a topside skirmish around top pixel bush where Svenskeren was level 4 on Xin Zhao.
Yeah,
and, without flash, and Smithy was level 5 on Sejuani, and they opted into this mid 2v2 when Sven was like 50 or 60% HP, a level down, and Smithy was full HP. And despite that, like, it actually looked like they were winning the 2v2. And what really changed the game is the fact that Impact was able to move first on Aatrox against Karma. I didn't get a chance to go back and watch the pro view of top lane. I could only see the minimap, but Impact was able to move first against priority. So, Licorice is pushing him in on Karma. There's a big wave moving into his turret, and Impact actually gets inside track and is able to go down river and affect that pixel fight first, completely against the run of play. So the Cloud9 communication is, okay, Licorice, like, yeah, I got top priority. Like, any fight in topside river, we're going to smash. We have Karma and Zhao. We have Veigar. Like, we have these tools to win this topside 3v3. And if we win that topside 3v3 and all of a sudden Niski is 2-0 on Veigar, we've seen in the regular season, I forget which game it was, where he was against Corki. He was Veigar. He picked up a couple quick kills in the early game and completely ran away with this game and basically solo carried the team on Veigar. Veigar is also fantastic against Rakan. If Rakan goes in, you just press R and Rakan actually dies to one spell. Also, the cage is difficult. And, this is a composition that if it gets an early advantage and you can put the Sivir in the mid lane and you can play with your Xin Zhao and your Karma and Veigar is able to control space and you're playing on the front foot, you might be able to do something here. But yeah, it's certainly a scientific draft. That's what I'll say. Maybe a little bit ambitious here from Cloud9, but I can understand the thought process. And it's certainly not like, they're certainly not trolling. Okay, like this was Reapered is a smart coach. This is certainly a draft that they were expecting Team Liquid to do. I'm sure the players were on board with this as well. There was a draft meeting where it's like, we know they're going to do this. We want to do this. What do you guys think? They were probably all on the same page, and the execution was just poor. I think that if that topside skirmish goes differently, maybe we have a totally new outlook on this game.
It was very much a Reaper draft, as you guys mentioned earlier, where it was a very expected draft. They banned Corki and they left Azir open. They wanted them to pick Azir and they were going to play Veigar into it. I saw like the argument you had with LS on Twitter about the draft being good or the draft being bad. Like, LS is always about like, if there's an opening and if the opening can be abused, like the players should do it. Like, sure, there are...
LS's argument basically, like, here's the thing. He thinks I was being caustic when I said this. I actually did identify the miscommunication. LS judges the draft in a vacuum of, I think these champions versus these champions can win. Whereas my premise, for obvious reasons, is, why did Cloud9 do that draft? Like, as
into
in
TL.
He isn't drafting DPI playing itself. He's drafting Cloud9's players against his. And as you just said, Artemis, as soon as you tell me this isn't a comp that we just want to walk into mid lane and have 5v5s, we're in deep trouble if we're in the LCS like there wasn't many teams this split who would have done anything different if they were in that scenario. And especially when you add in, you're in the finals. Like, people are already a bit tight. They're already going to forget half the game plan or do something weird or default to, simple tendencies that aren't as complicated.
Yeah. I think LS sometimes falls in the trap. And a lot of people will do this. It's not just him.
Yeah, of course.
But they look at the drafts and they sort of like play it out in their heads and they go way too down the rabbit hole, and they're like imagining perfect play on both teams where it's sort of like AlphaGo versus another computer, and it's like, okay, if both of these teams are playing perfectly, then like this composition is favored here because of like X, Y, and Z. And the reality is this is an execution-based game filled with human error. Okay, it's absolutely filled with human error, and you should never be looking at your team comp and saying, okay, yeah, if we play perfectly, we'll probably win, because I guarantee you're not going to play perfectly. You'll most likely be making mistakes. And for me, I felt that Cloud9's composition was going to always be extremely difficult to win with. It's a composition that is very unforgiving. If you're making a single mistake against such a powerful 5v5 composition as Team Liquid, you're playing Sivir against Azir. How can Sivir operate in a team fight? She's significantly outranged. Like, we can just go through this and see that there's really almost zero chance that from an even position they're going to be able to function in a 5v5. This is a composition that really just needs to get a lead and play on the front foot. And if you're making mistakes, as we saw, the game is almost instantly tilted. So probably a bit too much execution-based thought process here for this draft for my taste, but reasonable lines can disagree. And the only thing I will say about Cloud9's draft is it's definitely execution intensive. This is like a high execution team comp, and Team Liquid's is almost brain dead. You have Sejuani Zyra Khan, you just push your buttons, you have an Azir, you have Aatrox. It's like very classic Team Liquid draft here. This is such a classic TL draft.
One question on that line before we can move on or expand the topic is, does it matter what they let Team Liquid take in light of that? Like, as you said, one of the problems, it's one of the reasons why I always have a hard time personally knowing how good Kane is at drafting. Is like, he in this one area, he does have a luxury that no one else does. Look at the fucking players he has on his team. Like, you might think you're trapping him in the draft. He just goes elsewhere. Like, he's got all those players with all those champions. So, like, should they ever, like, take one or two of these off the table if they could have?
I'll add one thing before Artemis says. It's something small, but once you coach for a long time, you start coaching differently and you start prepping draft differently for best of fives. Like, you give yourself set rules, like you have multiple draft plans. If he can beat their Zyra Rakan, our draft plan can be this. If he cannot beat their Zyra Rakan, then we have to deny Zyra Rakan throughout the entire series. So I had draft series where I was like, if I can beat this player's Rumble, our draft plan will change dramatically. So in game one, I will do a risky draft, and if he can beat it, or even if he loses the game, the players show me that we can beat this player's special champion, we can get a godlike draft for the rest of the series. One thing
even if you remember, famously, what even some of the best Korean teams used to do when they would play against a good team from another country, they would give you a couple of power picks that they knew you were good on in game one, and the logic went like, if you can't beat us in game one, we're just going to let you have this shit anytime we want, but if you can, we'll just take it away from you, and then we know we have to play a restrictive draft. Like, I've even seen SK Telecom do that many times, Loco.
Yeah, it's definitely a strategy that any coach is going to use in best of five. And Loco, you hit the nail on the head. If you look at Cloud9's next red side draft in game 3, they banned Caitlyn themselves, which sets up to be able to take the Xayah yourself on 2. If you're not touching any bot lane bans on red side, it's really difficult to draft the Zyra Rakan, because if you show Xayah, you can get a random Caitlyn thrown in. If you take the full thing, you opt into a full 2-3 counter by blue side. So it's difficult to draft Xayah on red side without banning for it. And yeah, you're right. If Cloud9 was able to beat Team Liquid Zyra Rakan by simply picking Sivir on 3 and sending support 4-5, then they have an insane advantage for the rest of the series. There's no argument there. What I will say, however, is personally, I feel that you need to be honest with yourself about how good Doublelift and Core JJ are. I'm not. I don't even need to compare them. Okay, but Doublelift and Core JJ are probably the best Zyra in North America, and I can say that pretty confidently. They pilot these champions extremely well. They're incredibly effective in lane phase and in team fights and roaming, controlling vision. It's the lovers duo for a reason. It's fantastic, and they play it so well. Like, yes, it would be great to have a strategy where you could beat the Zyra, but against Doublelift and Core JJ, I don't think picking Sivir on 3 and then taking a random support 4-5 is even survivable. They were getting 2v2 killed and down like 30 CS. It was just ugly. And maybe they said, okay, like maybe if you guys go down like 10, 15 CS, like we can like be winning topside and like X, Y, and Z. All you have to do is just like essentially not lose and we'll win elsewhere. Maybe that was their strategy coming in, because I agree, if Team Liquid can't take Zyra on blue side, it's fantastic for C9. But we weren't willing to give Team Liquid Zaire Khan, and we're willing to give almost anyone else Zaire Khan. It's just Team Liquid plays these champions at such a high level. Personally, I don't think you can give it away, and if you do, I think you need a better strategy than picking Sivir and sending support 4-5.
Because if you look like going on in this series, like in game 2, for example, with the exception of putting a Vladimir mid, this is also like absolutely bread and butter what Team Liquid's going to get in a draft.
Yeah.
Look what they're playing. Look at the bot lane, look at the top lane, look at the jungler. This is all exactly what they want, and what they've shown you is the strength that they want. So, right, on this topic, it's going to be hard to do it without going into the specific games, so feel free to go wherever you want in this discussion. It doesn't have to be in order, anything. But like one topic I do want to bring up in this part is basically Reapered's approach to drafting, because I realize there's an obvious bias here, which is whenever his team loses the big game, it's easy to then look at the draft and then say, well, what's the flaws in this? Was it bad? Blah, blah, blah. Sure. And obviously that might mean there's an element where you didn't look at when he did a draft that was weird that you won a game. Like it's easy to just only look at the bad ones. Right? He clearly has a very unorthodox approach to drafting, though. And in fact, again, as a pure layman, this is obviously one of my weakest areas within League of Legends. I will just say, as a layman, just based on my watching other teams draft around the world who are top teams and have players I would consider in their regions contextually comparable to who Reapered has, I consider him to have one of the best rosters in NA, minimum top 3. Like, so if I look at the roster he has, I feel like as a layman, he goes away from the strengths of the roster so many times that it's not like a one weird game he's doing it for. Like, it just seems to be routine. Like in this series was another classic one where Loco's heard it all before. I'll just hit the old soundboard. So never giving Licorice a chance to carry. There's an obvious one he fucking loves to do. Putting Sneaky as the guy with the fucking power pick. AD carry, like, do I really want that? Like, we're even in a world now where I'd rather have fucking Licorice play the AD carry pick at top lane than Sneaky on some of these. Like, this is ridiculous. Again, having games where, like, you put the whole game on Niski, but on a weird champion that isn't, like, default play the game out. Like, basically, you're making, like, to me, you're making the level of execution for everything you do in these big matches way higher than it needs to be. Like, for me, C9 should have the same rep Team Liquid had that you said before, of like, they've got so many good players, they can go so many places. Sure, they got all these power picks, but what can I do? I can't ban 10 picks, can I? I've got to let them have some. But they don't do that. They tend to have these very tailored concepts come in. So what are your thoughts on this? Because obviously this is someone who every split's going to be a coach of the split candidate. He's always going to be up there.
Dorian, so I'll answer this question. I'll answer everything that you asked, but I want to ask you something beforehand. Do you believe he's way worse in drafting when it comes to playoffs versus regular season, right? Because you always talk about him as the best regular season coach.
I think, first of all, that's like an unfair premise, because the problem is weird shit like that is great for best of ones. That's a fucking great approach to take. The guy comes in, he has no clue what you're going to do. He can't change what he's going to do from that. My problem is, like, I'll give you my basic version.
Okay.
One, I actually do personally think this might be highly contentious because I know he streams, so people are going to say this is a counter narrative. I personally think Reapered is not someone who has, like, I think he buys into global meta thinking. And he's in the world of LS. That's why I'm not surprised they were all fucking on the same page for game 1. I think in their world, they sit there and they're like, him, LS and fucking Reapered think they're like L and Yagami Light from fucking Death Note, and they're all just sat there like going 10 levels deep on what the fuck he would do and then I would do, and so I will set up the trap so that he thinks he's trapping me, but I trapped him with a trap with a double bluff, and it's like, and everyone else in the world, it's like you just go A beats B, right? I'll take A on that one. Like everyone else, like the reason my joke is like he is 200 IQ, but sometimes like 100 of the IQ was tricking the other 100 IQ, and he double IQ'd himself. Like some of the shit he's doing is ridiculous. So my problem is I don't think he basically looks, when it comes to the playoff series, at things that listen, this might sound very cynical, but I would have some drafts that are like, right, we're losing the series, we're down 2-1. Here's an easy one to pilot, but they have an all right chance to win on. Here's a champion that you can play. Again, why don't they ever get a brain dead draft like you talked about earlier, right? I never see fucking Cloud9 get one in playoff scenarios. They always have one where it's like trying to pass a fucking IQ test in the game.
I will push back a little bit when you look at the second game draft from Cloud9 in game 2. They have Sejuani, Irelia, Kaisa, Braum, and Kled. And you really can't pick a more brain-dead skirmish comp than this.
There's one game then, okay.
Yeah,
as a general trend, though.
And
as a general trend,
Kench.
you're 100% correct. And TL pick Kench, yeah. I thought the point you made about like the best of 1 versus best of 5 is really interesting when you look at the 5 games in order, because it looks to me like when I look at game 1, it looks like Cloud9 is drafting as a best of 1. right? Like this is very, like I said before, it's a scientific draft where they're sort of trying these alternative strategies. They're baiting Team Liquid to pick things because they think they have prepared counters. And then if you just look at the other 4 drafts in this series, they're much more cookie cutter. You see like Sylas, Xayah, Alistar, Aatrox, Sejuani. You see Gragas, Kai'Sa, Kiana, Alistar, Poppy. Aatrox, Xayah, Alistar, Jarvan, Vladimir, right? Like these are composition that you could say, okay, this is clearly, has defined win conditions. It has hard engage. It has frontline, has mixed damage. It has carry potential. Those are more drafts that you would like expect to see from like a balanced team. So maybe it was, I'm just speculating here entirely, but maybe Cloud9 was like, okay, game 1, red side, let's just throw the house at them, right? Let's like do something crazy. Let's try and get them off their game. Let's try and steal a game on red side, because in a best of 5 against Team Liquid and you don't have side selection, you need to win a game on red side. Like you just have to do it. And we've talked before about the strengths of drafting on blue side and how difficult it is already to draft against Liquid. Cloud9 probably understood that it was always going to be really difficult and an uphill battle to actually win a game on red side against Liquid. And maybe they felt, okay, game 1, maybe they come out a little bit slow. Maybe we can surprise them. Let's just treat this like a best of 1. Let's try and steal a game on red side and then play a best of 4 essentially after that. And we can kind of see that in the drafts, I think.
So I'm not as close as Reapered as I used to be. We definitely don't see each other as often, but the few times I do talk to him, like I will actually ask about draft stuff. Like, this was fucking stupid. Why did you do this? This was fucking stupid. Why did you do this? And I've done that throughout the years, and he'll give very reasonable answers. He'll talk about, oh, this player kind of had a mental block versus this. This is not something that people are going to know, so I can't go into this matchup. Normally this matchup would be fine, but I'm not going to do this. This player really wants to make sure like he has control, and he doesn't like being in losing matchup, especially in high pressure situations, so we can't do this. I'm sure every team has like little things. Like I've done drafts that look dumb also. Like, why didn't you give Bjergsen this pick? Why did you put Dyrus on a carry? Why did you allow Turtle to do this? There's players like that are hot in the moment of the series. There's players that can't mentally handle certain parts, and it's very, very important to coach the player you have and coach like how they're doing. I think one thing that Reaper does extremely well is coaching people, not coaching League of Legends, not the X's and O's, just reading the feels and like kind of the tempo of the series and how the players are doing and giving them the best tools. So I mean, I agree that
wait a minute, what confused me there was if you just said that first part without the word in a series, I'd agree. Like if he's good at working with people, obviously in series, dude, I'm not exaggerating. Maybe I'll go and do a piece of content to show you this. If you ever look at the placings Reapered's getting in regular splits, this motherfucker loses so many series he's a favorite in, or like close to even money. It's unbelievable. And by the way, if this guy goes to game 5, it's worse than being a fucking clutch gaming coach. Like he's going to lose it for sure.
In the best of 5 seasons,
that was very tailored, obviously.
Okay. One thing we also have to talk about in context is Reaper had to coach against some super rosters. He had to coach versus.
Please,
you don't think
child,
so?
Please. Wait a minute.
Adults, explain to me.
Listen, you're the same person who judged Jensen is worse than Bjergsen because Jensen loses against Bjergsen and
That's
Double
not the only reason I said Jensen was worse than Bjerg.
But now, magically, we're supposed to feel sorry for Cloud9, the team that you would tell me if I asked you at any point in the last 2 years, lineup's fucking amazing, got great players at every position. Would you change any players, Loco? Not unless I can get caps. No, not unless I can get caps or something like that. You know, like you wouldn't change out Niski, mate. You wouldn't change out the only player you would probably change on this team is Sneaky, right?
For sure.
There's one player. So the other 4 players to you are top tier NA. And now all of a sudden, you're getting out the small violin, but he had to play against Double Lift and Jensen. Yes, equivalent players, you fuck.
No way.
Not only that,
okay.
But you personally have never, ever, in your mind, as far as I can tell from the show, I'm not saying it as it is, you have never rated Kane as a better coach than Reaper. True?
I have never rated Kane. Actually, I'll agree on that. I hold
so TL has comparable players to C9. C9's even had some of their core equally as long. They have actually a player who's the fucking MVP of the split, and Reapered's been the coach of this team way longer than Kane. He has every advantage, dude. Like, what more advantages do you want? Is TL supposed to just give him a 2-game start or something this year? What the fuck? The
one best of 5 in recent memory where I felt like Reapered had better players and lost is probably the TSM one, where the TSM Rebirth Sweep one for C9.
Oh, the Gauntlet.
Yeah, no, not the Gauntlet.
No, which one are you
in
talking
spring.
about now?
In spring.
How many years
yeah,
ago was
yeah.
this?
No, this spring.
This spring.
C9
Oh,
lost to
yes,
TSM.
this spring play. Yes,
Yeah.
okay, right,
So
fine.
if you go back and look at all the times, like Reaper's opponents have always been the finalists. So Reaper coached during the era of Haunter, Doublelift, Bjergsen, Yellow Star Biofrost, Svenskeren. He had to coach versus that TSM, and right after that roster broke up, they made another super team with Doublelift, Pobelter, Ole, Xmiti, Impact, and then right after that one, TL upgraded their super team.
By the way,
Mm-hmm.
two things. One, fuck you for calling a team with Ole and Pobelter a super team. What happened to those super players after that? Then you daft cunt. They all went to the bottom of the league. So they weren't very super, were they? And then part two,
Okay.
How does one upgrade a super team, you motherfucker? That doesn't even make sense.
All right, whatever. We can call the.
How do you upgrade a super team? What? I have a super player. Well, that's already the best you can get. Upgrade, please. Like, how could you? It's a tautology. It doesn't even make sense.
Maybe it was wrong for me to call the original TL team a super team, but you have to admit, Reaper had to coach against some of the most stacked teams in LCS.
He's not coaching fucking Little League NFL, is he? Like, he's coaching in the best division with the best players. That's a whack excuse.
Don't you think C9 has always had worse rosters still comparatively to those teams?
You don't like my boy Prolly, right? You think he's an overrated coach. You've said it many times on the show, right?
Yeah.
Go and look who he was coaching against, mate. If I make top 10 greatest Western teams of all time, all the ones beating him are the fucking teams on this list. You don't give him the credit for that and go, well, you were coaching against Season 5 Fnatic, and then you were coaching against Fnatic of Season whatever, and all of them, basically. And then you had all the G2 teams that won all the champions. You don't do that, do you? You just go, you didn't win. Sorry. And here's the difference. Prolly almost never had the equivalent players. He had it for 1 year. Reapered has it every year. Like, this is my problem with the Reapered thing. I'll make it very quick, right? Is I've actually been I noticed this ages ago. I noticed this after they lost in, I think it was maybe when they lost in Season 7, where they didn't even make the final. Like, Immortals made the final, if you remember that time. And that was when I just noticed, like, wait a minute, it's the same every split. It's the same story every time. Regular season, brilliant. All the players in the team, as a result, get plaudits as being really good players because the team's doing well, it functions well. And then you get to the playoffs, and he has all these problems in series. He nearly always loses a round earlier than actually he usually should. That's happened many times. Happened in the spring split, as you pointed out. Like, you can say there, but he was coaching against Bjergsen, the fucking bad Bjergsen, the one that, like, is the one year where I'd love, like, if you say you have to coach against Bjergsen, I'll have him in Season 9, please. Not in the fucking past. That's the point, right? Is you guys are, like, throwing around the metrics to make it seem every time like it's the impossible task. He was supposed to be in the finals there, Loco. Then we could have started judging him. He never got to the finals. Then you have all those times where his team came in with a good seed, like the 3rd seed, and went fucking straight out in the first round. That's happened a few times before. Like, this guy has underwhelmed in the playoffs. And by the way, that's not like a unique thing to esports. Like, someone even made this point on my tweet I looked up, because my basic overall point goes like this. What everyone does with Reapered is they use all the factors that are actually reasons that he's not very good coach, because they're advantages. They use all those to offset why he's bad. Like, they go, well, you know, in this particular game, like, the players didn't really play out the draft properly. He fucking tells the players what the draft's going to be. He goes to them and asks them what they want to pick. You guys just earlier made a whole case, Loco did, about how he knows his players very well and what comfort they need and what picks they need. You can't then turn around and tell me, like, the stupid player didn't play out the draft properly. Because if I then shift the topic later to, like, should we cut some of these players? Loco just said it. There's only one player he'd cut. So Licorice is a brilliant player, amazing top player. We shouldn't replace him. Why did this pick not work? Stupid Licorice doesn't know what he's doing. Should we remove him? Well, I mean, he didn't have the right pick, did he? It's like, why are we existing in some fucked up world where there's no consistency and so no one's to blame? Like, Cloud9 is one of the best at it. It wasn't as obvious as TSM because TSM wasn't winning, and so they automatically get flamed for that. Cloud9 skates by, coming 3rd and 5th and 2nd, like, as though, like, those were championships. Like, at the end of the day, the analogy someone gave me was a pretty good one, which is from the NFL. The coach who is currently the Kansas City Chiefs coach, Andy Reid, is a legendary coach for exactly this. If you put this guy in the regular season with the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2000s, with the Kansas City Chiefs, he makes these teams that go to the top of the division. They fucking always have one of the best records. Sometimes even a player will be, like, best at his position in the NFL. But when he goes to the playoffs, like, bet your house on the other team when it gets to the championship game. Like, this guy, it's not even like he fucks everything up. That's the key point. He's not a terrible coach, but in those moments, he always makes, like, he zigs when he should zag, if you know what I mean. Like, and the problem is, when that happens 1 year, Loco, I'm with you. You don't cut the guy then because you're like, look at the potential. When that happens 2 years, okay, people like Andy Reid and Reaper just do it by it's every season.
Would you want to cut Reapered?
At this point in time, this is the question
Also,
I asked.
sorry to
before.
interrupt, but there's echo. I'm not sure if it's you or Artemis.
It's coming out of Artemis's.
Okay.
But anyway, whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry, Duncan. Go ahead.
So here's the problem. The question I would have to ask first is, do they have the possibility to get a really good coach? Like, will they spend money, basically?
Mm-hmm.
If they're willing to go and buy a big coach and potentially player changes, because actually I think you probably need to make some changes to this roster personally. Like, again, it's been too many times for these two different calls they've had that they've failed. So I personally would say if you are, like, if you can go out there and get like a top coach in the world,
Who'd be
if you
better
can
than
go and make
Reaper?
like,
In
well,
your
this is
opinion?
where Loco pulls me into his classic move, which he always does. Are you ready for a classic of the show, fans? Watch for future episodes, and you'll always see it. Loco is the person who you can tell he's terrible in business because he really thinks the way you negotiate is like this. It's like, I have the 5th best player. May I please trade him to you for the 3rd best player? And then they're like, no. And he's like, couldn't get anyone. It's
Well,
like,
I'm asking
you always-
if you're gonna suggest replacing Reapered. If you're gonna suggest you're gonna get a top coach, I want examples of.
Oh,
those
there's
top
loads of
coaches.
it. Young Buck. I'll take Young Buck tomorrow.
Young Buck.
Tomorrow.
Anyone else? And also
Loads
here,
of people. Koreans, loads of people.
also isn't availability something that C9 has to account for when they're replacing players or when they're replacing coaches? If there aren't going to be coaches that are going to be available, like I think Young Buck is an arguable one. I'll give you that one. If they can get Young Buck, that's someone they should consider. But who, like honestly, who is out on the free market that could
Loco.
be better?
By the logic that you're applying now, Team Liquid should never have picked up Kane for the super team that you described with Paul Belter, and they would never have had these championships.
Can I ask, or can you explain to me why that logic would suggest that?
Because what was Kane doing before he coached the Team Liquid team with Paul Belter and Ole and Doublelift? What was he doing?
Assistant coach for C9.
And before that, who did he coach?
That was his first coaching gig, assistant coach for C9. Oh, no, he worked as assistant coach in Najin.
Didn't he coach the bad Team Liquid?
Kane? Oh, before the super team. Oh, okay. Yeah, he coached the bad Team Liquid, yeah.
Right. So why the hell would Team Liquid for their super team pick up a guy who just coached a shit team? By your logic, that's not a good coach.
Well, coaching is the roster you have, like, it's how much you can get out of the roster, right? If you coach a shit team, if you take the best coach in the world, put him on a shit team, and then he makes that shit team decent, then that's a good coach. He can't make that team first, but coaching is not, you get the best coach in the world, and that team just becomes first.
Exactly. So the point is, you can't only look at results. Like, yes, obviously, Loco, Fnatic probably aren't going to give Cloud9 their fucking coach. He's their coach. What would they have? What would they benefit from giving him away? Also, if you're Youngbok, why would you go to Cloud9? You're in a better team. You have a better chance to win. Like, that's the point. If you have that thinking that you can always, like, basically, Loco, in this scenario, especially in a game like League where you don't have a big open circuit, you're nearly always going to have to compromise if you go and get someone else out there. Unless you've got the most money, you always have to gamble. What you're gambling is what you just said there, that you have the skills to look at Kane when he's on the bad TL and go, this could work though. If I gave him the good players, he could actually be really good. Which, by the way, makes it a genius pickup when you do that, because everyone else would tell you exactly what I just said.
Dude, even Jensen said that. Even Jensen in the Team Liquid episode said, I had very low expectations of Kane when I first joined because I saw him work under Reapered and C9 and I didn't think much of him. And he said now he's one of the best coaches I've ever worked with.
Well, here's the thing. I this is one area, I guess, maybe where we can open it up a bit. Maybe you guys can tell me. Let's imagine there was a world. Let's say Reapered actually decided to retire. Whatever. Let's say they lose the Gauntlet. No, they can't lose the Gauntlet now. But you know what I mean? Like, let's say for whatever reason, this year's his last year. And it's not even like they're kicking him. So there's not that angle. They're just going to have to get a different coach for next year.
He goes to Army. Let's say that. That's a good one.
Here's the question. What type of coach do you think C9 needs? Because I've made the point in the past. The reason why I think the Kane example is a great example of how you can't prejudge a coach just on results is because, to me, Kane is an example of a big team coach. When you give him the players that are already fully completed players, veterans, they play their style's super famous, they know what they want from themselves, they know how they're going to play. He does a great job. He fills in all the pieces, brings it together, and as a result, we're almost never criticizing a Kane draft the way Kane used his players. We sometimes criticize a player movement. Like, does C9 need a team like that if they have really good players? Do they need someone who is more tailored to these specific players instead? Maybe they need a small team coach. Maybe they need someone like Weldon who's going to take these pieces that are good but haven't won yet. And what type do you think they need? What would your guess be?
You can go first, Artemis.
Okay, so I'll say that I actually have no idea like which type of coach Reaper actually is. And this is a big problem for me and other coaches in the scene when you're...
You're cutting out. Oh, sorry. You were cutting out. What is it? Make sure your mic's activating and make sure you're speaking into it.
Okay. Yeah. So I was saying, I think that it's very, very difficult sometimes to judge coaches as an LCS coach because you only see about like 1% of what they actually do. So like I can see their drafts and I can critique them and I can look at them, but even then I don't have the information that they use going into it. I don't have their preparation. I don't have their conversations with their players. I really just have this list of 10 things and I have to make a judgment on it. But most of coaching is done behind the scenes, if not all of coaching. So, I really have no idea how good of a coach Reapered actually is. The only people who do are people either on his staff, so other assistant coaches or people who work with him or his players or, ex-players or ex-members of staff, right? So for me, I can't really speak to what style Reapered is and whether or not like that style works for Cloud9, but I do think Kane is a good example of what a coach needs to do on a roster of talented players. The two most important things you have to do with those kind of rosters is one, bring discipline, right? Like these are all like either veteran players or talented players, and you need to provide that disciplined environment to get them to actually, bring the most out of your players. And second, you need to be able to set the strategic direction when your players have conflicting views of how to play the game. Like a player like Doublelift and a player like Jensen most likely will disagree often or could disagree often when they're looking at the same play. They say, okay, I think we should have done this here. The other says, I think we should have done this there. And both of them can have good logic. They can both have defensible positions. And you could spend the next 2 hours going really deep down the rabbit hole and arguing back and forth about which is actually like correct in a vacuum. And at a certain point, League of Legends is not about what's correct in a vacuum. It's about compromise. It's about getting on the same page and executing it. Yeah, and it's good enough, right? If you can get on the same page and execute an effective strategy, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be enough. And that's what the best coaches are able to do. And we do see Cloud9 execute good strategies, and we do see them play together as a team. So clearly he does bring discipline, and clearly he is able to set their strategic direction. And, he does catch a lot of flack because he's lost finals so many times and he loses these big games and he does so well in the regular season. And to bring another football coach into the mix, there's a famous Bill Belichick quote that's players win games and coaches lose games. And I think that's very, very applicable. Like if Cloud9 wins these series, like, oh my God, Team Liquid's players aren't as good as we thought they were. They're not the best players in the world. Like Licorice is the best top laner in NA. Niski is the best mid to ever play since, Bjergsen first graced the NALCS and everybody's overhyping all the players. But as soon as they lose, it's, what was he thinking for game 1 draft? Why did he pick these things? What's he doing X, Y, and Z? So I do think that oftentimes a lot of the criticism post losses falls onto the coach, but I think it's necessary and I think it's warranted. We see it in traditional sports. Unfortunately, you have to be rather results-based in your analysis of performance because what else matters other than results, right? You're here to win. You're paid to win. Stakeholders and shareholders are expecting you to win. So you just have to win. And if you're not winning, the criticism will fall on the coach, and rightly so. So I do think that after a sustained period of unacceptable results, you should change your coaching infrastructure. But I wouldn't say that Cloud9 has gone through a sustained period of unacceptable results when you consider their international success. And also, I'm not their CEO. I have no idea what their expectations are from their staff. But I would expect if they were underperforming to their expectations over a consistent timetable, that hopefully they would make adjustments. So clearly they don't feel it's necessary.
Oh, Cloud9 clearly doesn't. Yeah, I agree with that. That's one of the reasons I actually think it's an interesting topic, because to me, it's a pure hypothetical. Like, I don't think they're going to fire him. I don't think we're even considering it. Like, I agree with you. I would assume what they see when they see this is, well, we were close. We had a chance to win. Hey, we made top 4 worlds last time. That was pretty cool. Let's see if we can get out of groups again. Like, that's probably the fucked up mentality they have. But to me, I look back, and as someone who's watched esports for a long, long time, there's a concept called a window. And when your window is open, that is when you must win.
Nifty fan Licorice Jazel.
Do you know how many fucking players in esports and sports patted their teammate on the back and said, don't worry, we'll get back to the finals next year and win, and never made the finals again? Never fucking won a championship. Like, they didn't know that actually this was the one you had to win. Like, guess what? When we were close in that match, that was our chance. Like, that wasn't like a warm-up that we then get to redo next year. So my problem is just, it's been a lot of years now. People forget. I think Reapered, this is something like his 7th split. I think, is that right? I think it's his 7th split as the coach of Cloud9.
He started 2015 summer.
I think so, yeah.
2015
this isn't
summer.
like was it 2015? I don't know. But anyway, whatever. But this wasn't like, you know, his fucking like second split and they've just got these players and stuff. He's had a lot of different players as well. Like there's another thing, Loco. So he has Svenskeren in this split, Licorice last year. He had Jensen before that. How many fucking MVPs or MVP candidates do you want before you're supposed to win the league, mate? Like that's the thing that in traditional sports you'll get flamed for. If you have like fucking Andy Reid himself had it this fucking year, didn't he? He obviously had the MVP and he still couldn't win. So like people will look at that as a knock on your record. And by the way, one thing I'll say, because it applies to both of the examples I've given, is these aren't bad coaches. Now, it may be that they have some specific flaw in a playoff setting. That's kind of what I'm alluding to. But that is also with these specific teams. Like another problem I have with coaching and how it's viewed in esports is the notion that like, if I fire you, you're a bad coach. If I hire you, you're a good. No,
right
like
coach
it's whether
for the
you're
right
not
job.
Yeah, it's if you fit my team. Like for all I know, if you go give Reapered a totally different type, maybe if he had clutch game and maybe they'd have won fucking LCS. Maybe that's the team that perfectly fits him, and he would accommodate the fact that Hooney can clearly play about 4 fucking carry champions that they even have to lie about on talk shows and pretend like it's an actual strategy they built into the game, even though logically no one would ever do that. And then they pretend like Vulcan's just super sick on 2 champions instead of only being good on 2 champions. All the clever shit that they do here, like they use semantics to build their coaching structure out. Maybe Reaper did fucking kill it there. Maybe when he's in the shower thinking about what Hooney's going to play, fucking don't even want to ever have to say that sentence again. Maybe he'd come up with a brilliant concept. The point is, maybe he's just not the right coach for C9.
I'll say this. I know I'm
What's
biased.
Your take on it, Loco? You haven't really given me your take.
I am 100% biased. Reaper's been a friend, an enemy, and a friend again for, I would say, over 10 years. I've known the guy for such a long time, so I know I'm biased. But I also know Reaper's done some fucking insane things on Cloud9. Like, I always compare myself to coaches. I still compare myself to coaches. Whenever coaches get a roster and they get certain type of results, whenever coaches get a roster and they don't get a certain type of results, of course I think to myself, I could have done that. I couldn't have done that. And watching Reaper coach throughout the years, there's definitely times where I'm like, holy fucking shit, he actually did that with that roster. Holy fucking shit, he actually... What if it got to this point with this kind of problems internally going on, like, and no one else knowing? And holy fucking shit, when I hang out with Cloud9 players, the way they talk about Reapered is really different from how other players talk about their own coaches. So there's definitely moments where I go, holy fucking shit, like no one else on earth, like no one's quite like Reapered. But I will admit problems in playoffs, and my suggestion to C9 would be, stop picking up inexperienced coaches to bolster Reapered. I'm sure Reaper's the one picking Reignover, picking Rapistar.
How about pick someone up because they're actually a coach, not a former player? There you go. Because I'm getting pretty sick and tired of hearing stories of ex-Korean players from season 2 and season 3 who just get picked up as coaches just because of the fucking name. Like, if you kill it as a coach, you recreate yourself. Yeah, great. You've got a career. Like Reaper did, by the way. But if you get picked up like some of those names you mentioned there, mate, some of those guys have bounced around fucking teams and done nothing on any of them.
I don't think Reignover, Rapistar are bad coaches. It's just, if your problem is playoff drafts and clutching it in playoff, like, get someone that's had success in that. Like, get someone that can help Reaper with the draft. Like, Rapistar and Reignover, I know Rapistar also coached on EDG, but they're there to learn from Reaper. They're there to assist him. Like, he needs someone that can really help him, that can really push him in these, like, playoff situations, if that's the weakness C9 has. I agree with you. They probably will never fire Reaper, especially after that one split where he benched players and still made them go to Worlds. I'm sure Jack completely thinks of him as different, and he probably wants to be like, okay, hands off, Reaper, like, you do your thing. But he needs help in certain regards.
Like, Reapered at the moment now has the same status that Sneaky does, which I'm sure is something we're going to talk about, which is like the stuff he's done in the past means he can make more mistakes now. And in fact, as long as he's still... Here's the thing. For me, Reapered and Sneaky just have to not be too bad that it's egregious. They can fuck up if they want, but they've got such a bank of credit, as it were, from what they've done in the past that Cloud9 will let them get away. Now, as I've made very clear on the show, this is just a philosophical difference. Like, maybe they run this whole core and Reapered next year and they finally get the championship and it's a brilliant ending to the story, and then they get to tell the whole story that's a counter narrative to mine of, like, the stuff that he went through to get there and how, they're so glad they stuck with him and stuff. My problem is this. My philosophy, Loco. I believe in being ruthless. Like, I think every split and every year, you should look at the personnel. You should essentially take the nameplate off and just say, who the fuck is this player? Who is this coach? Are they the best choice I have right now? And I'm not exaggerating. I am the guy who I would do what Team Liquid did. even if I won the split, if I think I really can upgrade mid lane to an even better player and have an even better team, I'll get Jensen over Pobel. Sorry, Pobel. I know you just won both championships, mate, but I would do it. That's ruthless, but that's also one of the ways you win, in my opinion.
Would you get Caps over Jensen if that becomes an option?
I mean, obviously that's like such a hypothetical, but in a world where that's possible, yes, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Okay.
I mean, here's the problem with that. Like, I just mean that in terms of what you think of Caps and Jensen. Like, I personally think Jensen's an underrated player.
You think he's Caps level?
Nah, the problem with that is Caps, I think, is the most overrated player probably to ever play League of Legends, because people act as though he is like prime Faker Season 3 all the time, and then he just has like occasional bad games, right? I've never seen anyone as good as him have as many bad games at the same fucking time, like 1 second later than the amazing game he just had. Like as a result, I think people don't even try and average the two. They just think to themselves, the others don't matter. Right, the bad games matter for every player. I don't care who the fuck you are. You can be shy, you can be rookie. Bad games matter. So my problem there is, like, people want the upside of Caps, and they're ignoring that at the moment in G2, you don't see the downside because of the fucking teammates he has. Tell you what, one thing I appreciate the fuck out of with Jensen is when you put this guy on any type of team, he always does his job. So if his job is he has to hard carry lane and win lane against Bjergsen every time, he might fucking do it. He can do it. The guy's a stud. That's one of the reasons I lashed out at the C9 fans. The way that they actually have responded. Like, listen, it's one thing if you just banter Jensen, like, haha, you're not going to win without us. You know, you could have won. That's one thing. They were legit telling him, like, he's a piece of shit and, like, you know, fuck this guy. It's like, mate, this guy put your franchise on his motherfucking back.
He was their best player for 3 years. Yeah, Jensen did so much for C9. But, yeah, I do agree. Jensen's rep is not equivalent to who he is as a player, and he gets memed on and he gets dissed on by not just Cloud9 fans.
Here's the best way to say it. Here's the difference between how I think of Jensen and how fans do. Fans go, think of all the game 5s he lost. Just press R, Jensen. Here's the way I think of him. You're right, he fucked it up in a game you would have never been playing in if he hadn't have carried you to that game. You see the difference there? Like, they go to the last point, I take the whole thing if I can.
It's just that
so
moment.
To me, until, like, before, put it this way, before he won the title this year, I think he was the best player to ever play in NA that hadn't won the title. I don't think that's even very debatable. He was a fucking amazing player.
Your take, Artemis?
Yeah, Jensen's one of those guys who always does his...
Oh, it just cut out again, mate.
How am I doing now? Am I still fine?
Yeah.
Right, double check something for a second. Go into the settings on Discord and just turn off the thing where it like auto activates. Just have it turned on the whole time.
It's off.
It's off.
Okay, so yeah, like you said, Jensen is one of the most disciplined players we've seen in LCS. He understands his job and he'll do it to a T almost every time. Like, he can carry, but he won't demand that, which I think is great. And I guess comparing him to Caps, I do think that Caps is susceptible to these really, really bad games where he basically is just running it down the mid lane. And I think it's just a lack of discipline. Like, there's no reason that a player at Caps' level should be playing so badly in a game, right? There's literally no reason. He is not at that level. It's unbecoming of a player of his pedigree, and he frankly shouldn't do it. And I see it as a lack of discipline. And this is extrapolating quite a bit, but looking at the way G2 conducts themselves with their draft, kind of their carefree, hang loose attitude where we're going to beat you, but we're going to style on you and do it creatively. Like, it doesn't strike me as the most regimented and disciplined environment. So I'd be very curious to see how Caps would conduct themselves and how he would perform in a different structure with like different expectations, different coaching, different teammates, different levels of discipline. Like, what if he was able to play the game disciplinedly for an 18-game split and not have a bad game? Then we would say, okay, this guy's the best Western mid laner by far. There would be
faker then.
There would be no debate, right? There would be absolutely no debate.
Wait, the first thing I would say is, what about on Fnatic? Fnatic, extremely structured team. Youngbuck, I would imagine, extremely structured, like strict coach. Like, Caps was still up and down. Like, we've seen
Caps the problem. Here's the problem, Loco, is like the more I've gotten to know about those Fnatic teams that Caps played on, it's actually the opposite of structure though, because structure would be like what he's saying here is basically, not in all scenarios, obviously he's got genius elements to what he does that you want to unleash, but you want to just rein in the parts that aren't useful. Like, there's times, for example, like they told us this story on my EU podcast where Grabs was telling a story about how one of the reasons he thinks Jankos is the best player in G2 is because Jankos would not only like come with all his lanes and be doing normal pathing and setting up a gank, but then he would even preemptively realize, actually, fuck, Caps is just going to go in before I even get there. But it's just head off now. Now, that's a positive for Caps, for Jankos. Mm-hmm. It's a fucking negative for Caps. Like, the idea that, like, that's the point. These genius players, like, I know, like, listen, it's very tough to say because on the one hand, some of them he gets away with that look amazing, like Faker. That's why I always give the example, because Faker is so classic at going under the tower, killing you with 1 HP, coming out and going calculated and fucking styling off in the jungle, right? But the problem is, Caps does some of those where even when he's going in, it's like, this was never going to work even going in, mate. Like you really could add a tiny bit of discipline, even if it was like 5% of your players, and I think it would make you like a 10% better player, if you know what I mean. And if you're already as good as he is, that's the point. It would take you to the next level. You would go to the next level.
Okay, can I then propose a question?
I forgot to say the point. So the point I was going to say about Fnatic was, to me, the discipline would be something like you impose something on him, like only go in when the jungler comes, only go in when you have fake jungle pressure, whatever the rules you would put in places. At the moment, as far as I've heard from Fnatic, it was the opposite. They just said, right, we've got Caps. He's this crazy wild card in the mid who does whatever he wants. Cool, right? Jungler, follow him when he goes. Top laner, try not to like overextend except when he's pushing, and then that's fine. They did the other thing. They actually said, Caps, you have no discipline. Everyone else disciplines around you. Team plays around you, and then it works. Now, that's actually not a very good system generally. It will sound crazy to have your best player do. You normally, like, for example, the player that I think of when I think of that exact setup, by the way, is fucking Pawn when he used to play for Samsung White. Except the difference is Pawn was never the primary carry of the team. The whole point of Pawn is he can fuck around and coin flip all day long, because if he gets the win inside, you win the game 100%. And if he loses, well, it was never about Pawn anyway. Who gives a fuck? He was a distraction. Caps was the primary like focal point. So then you go into G2. I think it's even worse if you want the guy to become disciplined, because now they don't even have like an overall game plan in every match. They're doing genius shit. All of them together combined. They've made it worse, if anything. Now it's going to work. They're winning, but for an individual player, I think it will actually stop him reaching his limit. He is capped, essentially.
Okay, so one thing I want to say about Caps is I don't think he's a coin flip player where he does random stuff and it works or it doesn't. When we had him on the show and we talked to him about the mistakes, like the ones that popped into my head, I asked him, when you were playing Vladimir versus Azir, like that looked fucking dumb. Like, why'd you die there? And when you were playing Akali versus Renekton, like that looked fucking dumb. Why'd you die here? He had perfect explanations for both times. He's like, I miscalculated because I forgot when I use my E, I lose my health. So I started using my E and I would have survived the auto, but I miscalculated that I would lose HP. That's why I died without using pull. For the Akali Renekton one, I missed the CS and I didn't realize I missed the CS. So I should have hit level 2 here, but I didn't hit level 2 and I died. I'm not sure if he does random stuff or if he's not at the level where he's calculating things correctly.
Yeah. Sorry, finish. Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
So I'm not sure if he's good. I think as he gets better, he might not make those mistakes because it's his failure in calculation, not him messing up the situation.
Two very quick things. One, you always do this where you make out like players are a graph and they're just going up and you can just take the graph and extend it. Like, sorry, did I miss something? Did I miss a memo where we're being told that Caps is going to get better? You know, he could actually get worse, Loco. I know
he could.
I don't know if you've been watching TSM recently, but you can get worse in League of Legends. Same player, you can get worse. Weird. Broken Blade. Where the fuck's he at? Not so good anymore, is he? Haunter, King of TSM, welcome back. Right. And then the other fact I was going to say very, very quickly is, I know what you mean, Loco. Like, I'm sure he has an explanation for it all, but I would say this is the fundamental flaw he has. It doesn't matter if you calculated it all. Some of these players you should never attempt in the first place. Like, that's the point.
Yep, exactly.
If you go watch one of my favorite players of all time, Smeb. Does Smeb just go randomly in and go, well, if I'd have hit that last thing on the Fiora Q, I would have killed it? It's like, no, he knows, like, the play in the first place didn't make sense. Never mind that I could have done it. Like, that's why it's a coin flip in this scenario, because he's willing to gamble. He's willing to gamble. I know. By the way, just so people don't know, the term coin flip has now been so stretched colloquially, it doesn't mean 50-50 anymore. It just means you took a gamble playing League of Legends. Because let's face it, no one is really calculating all this shit. Like, that's like LS's wet dream that they're all going like, I actually know from a play that he would have had 17 health left at that point in time. I did an auto, that's 25. And they're like, nobody does that. Like, it's all feel. It's all feel, guys. That doesn't exist.
It is calculation, but people do it by feel. People aren't going by numbers. They're doing it by feel.
It's just intuition. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
Yeah,
what do you
no,
want to say, Artemis?
Yeah, I was really laughing when Loco was describing those reasons that Caps like may or may not give, because it's probably like misquoted, and I don't want to like get lost in translation because I didn't actually hear what he said.
Loco bought it hook, line, and sinker though. He was all in. Did you see that? He was like this while Caps was saying,
hilarious.
"Oh, really, Caps?
It's
and
hilarious.
what next?
Like,
what did he do next?"
I was sitting here like dying. I was dying as Loco's saying this because like, if in a scrim, if like one of my players like gets solo killed, right, like dies in a 1v1, and he's like, look, Carliner, like, you know, I just was 1 minion off 6, and if I had just gotten this baby raptor here at level 1 and then got my base not stopped and then X, Y, and Z happened, this would have worked. And I'm like, well, it didn't. You know, and like we can sit here and we can look at any play, and any player is good enough to watch a play and say, oh, this is what I was thinking. And if only X, Y, and Z happened, then this would have worked. And it's all about your risk tolerance and what level of risk you're willing to accept.
But it's also skill level. If your skill level is at a certain point, some things that are risky aren't that risky.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, yes. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but it's still like you have to decide as a team, you know, what your play style is and what level of risk you're willing to tolerate. And also like how many resources each individual player can demand. And I'm not saying that Caps plays like this, but if he is the kind of guy that, you know, is demanding jungle hovers when he wants to 1v1 at every window and is taking 1v1s at almost every window and is constantly looking to get 1v1 advantages through his mechanical advantages in lane, I do not see that as a reliable way to consistently win best of 5s against the best teams in the world. If your game plan is ever, I'm going to just execute mechanically better than my opposition and I'm going to get an advantage through that, most likely you should be looking for a different strategy. Like, that's my philosophy, and we can agree to disagree, but those sorts of things would not be acceptable. But I'll caveat that by saying, I think it was you, Thorin, mentioning like if you would like create rules or something for Caps to kind of like add some discipline to his play. I think things like that are really dangerous, and you have to be careful with putting too much control around a player, because Caps is a fantastic carry. He's capable of doing brilliant things, you know, at the drop of a hat. And I think the worst thing you could do to Caps would be put him in a little box and say, you can never go for solo kills unless your jungle is behind you, and things like this. If it's ever like binary and black and white, like yes or no, most likely you're doing a player a disservice. And yeah, I'll just say again, like those kinds of excuses coming from players are things that have been said since season 1 and things that will keep being said. And ultimately it's on the coaches, right, to help players adjust their internal decision-making process and get them to a point where their risk tolerance matches the rest of their teammates, where you can now start to play the game effectively as a team.
Like, by the way, I for anyone who's thinking, but Caps is so good, why are you criticizing him? I'll criticize any player on this exact metric right now. Like, for example, I'm not exaggerating. There are times you can go in their careers and Uzi sometimes plays incorrectly and plays too greedy. The Shy himself sometimes just does unnecessary things where he basically ints a game away. Like, these are the absolute best players we've ever produced. The reason why the Faker example is always used to prop him up as the best player ever is he did all this same shit, but then just made it work practically every fucking time. Like, when he would go in, he wouldn't then be later in an interview like, well, of course, what I meant to do was... No, he just fucking did it, didn't he? Like, at the end, he just goes, well, go look at the screen, bitch. You figure it out yourself. I did, see ya. Just goes. Like, he doesn't need to give his excuses, does he? Caps at the moment's doing your angle, like, but coach, if I just improve 10% skill level, we'll do that first and come back and talk to me. What I would do is I'd go for, like, listen, this is a joke. Don't take this seriously, all the idiots out there. But what I would do metaphorically is I would have like the Zen monk approach, because I don't know if you know this, Loco, but one of the very interesting things about Zen, which is like the Japanese formation of Buddhism, which, if you know Japanese culture, is a lot stricter, is as opposed to the approach in like India, where it's all about like being chilled out and like, you know, like learn from me, but you know, like the wisdom and stuff. What they do in Zen culture is, because they have that like harshness of Japanese culture, the ruthless element, is they'll do stuff like this would be the equivalent, right? When the player comes in, he goes, but if I'd just done this and I got away with it, if I'd just done that, I would just stand there. I wouldn't say anything. I would just slap him in his face. And then when he goes, ow, I would listen. When he goes, ow, I would go, if you'd have just dodged that, you wouldn't have been hit. And he'd go, but I couldn't dodge it. I go, exactly, motherfucker. Now go out there and play the game. That's why I said metaphorically. Because otherwise you're all going to be like, no, I would beat fucking Jensen. It's like, Caps in this case, wouldn't it? I would slap a caps.
Yeah. You can continue the line of logic. Like if a player's like, if I only had, X, Y, and Z, like this play would have worked. I'm like, well, if you started the game with an Infinity Edge level 1, then, then also any play you make is going to work. And it's sort of it's a trap that they fall into where you can start justifying poor decision-making processes that are injecting unnecessary risk into a team game, right? It's not about you. Like if you are a team where you have to solo carry every game, then by all means, make the game about you, demand jungle pressure, take every 1v1 you want. But if you're a team and you play like a team and you can execute and win as a team, like that's what you need to do. And that's what all 5 players have to be on the same page.
And by the way, I'll even throw in, there's an element that I'll shade in actually that makes it not as bad that Caps sometimes does do this. To be fair, based on the things I've seen and actually how the drafts seem to go in the teams he's played, G2 and Fnatic, it doesn't actually seem like he does make all the superstar demands. So to be fair, if he's actually not demanding all the resources and then he has some, I can feel that does somewhat offset. Like it'd be very different if it was that classic double lift and it was like, give me everything. And then at the end, you want to give me all the excuses. Like, listen, mate, if I give you everything, there's no excuse at the end. Like, you have to just win the game. I'm sorry.
Okay. Speaking of double lift, and to get back into NA finals, I think one point that doesn't get talked about enough is double lift is so much better than every other AD, and double lift and Core JJ as a duo is better than so much. They're just so much better.
Have you ever
than every
noticed
other duo.
though? He is when he's in the finals of LCS. Every fucking regular split, I'm hearing all these arguments how he shouldn't even be an MVP candidate. He's actually not having. I always hear he's not. I'm always told during the
I'm gonna stand by that.
I'm always told he's not having a good split, and at the end, I just see him holding up the fucking trophy again. And everyone's like, "Fucking Reginald, why did they remove him? He's the best player ever played again." It's like, where are these two people coming from? It's the same guy.
Before I make my original point, I will stand by that. I don't think double lift was MVP form this split. I think Core JJ and Spence Garen were the two clear standout MVP, but double lift is still better than every other AD. Who's the AD you're going to name after double lift? Who? Stixxay, Cody Sun, Bang, Zben? They're just so far below. Every team has to ban Sona versus double lift Core JJ because NA bot lanes aren't good enough to execute versus Sona. All across the world, no one's banning Sona. We have this, we're in this world where there's double lift Core JJ and there's no one else as a bot lane in NA right now. No one you can put up internationally that can hold a candle to international bot lanes. So I thought that was a huge point in the finals and huge point all of playoff. Every team is deathly scared of TL Sona and nobody else can play Sona. So it gives TL such a lead in draft, and it was one of the core reasons why TL just stomped C9 in some of the drafts. Every draft, C9 has to worry about giving up Sona, and that's just a luxury where TL plays everything on top of that.
Yeah, and it's not just Sona is the only duo where they can completely smash you. Like Xayah Rakan, like we talked about before, Cloud9 tried to open it and then they quickly resorted to picking it themselves on red side every single time because it just simply wasn't something they could handle. And Double Lift and Core have so many of these duos that they play at a world-class level, like Caitlyn Lux, Caitlyn Morgana, Kaisa Nautilus, Xayah Rakan, Sona Tahm Kench, pick your fucking poison. They can play almost any 2v2 lane that they want and annihilate your bot lane. Double Lift will crash the third wave, he will pull it towards him, and he will be 20 to 30 CS up by the time that wave will make it back to your turret. And this is 8 minutes in the game, and you hit tab, and Double Lift's okay guys, bot lane's over, I'm 30 CS up, we can do whatever we want, we already won. And that level of insurance is something that honestly cannot be overstated. If you can go into the game and just know that you will have the better bot lane, that your bot lane will win, and it almost doesn't even matter what matchup they're on, that's just such an insane advantage, and they do it consistently. I don't remember the last time that I've seen them fail my expectations in a 2v2 when they had a matchup that they could execute well. It simply does not happen, and it allows Team Liquid to play with confidence in the other roles because they know that they have essentially the best Western AD carry on their team, the best bot lane in the West on their team, and that they can trust them to carry the game, and they consistently do. So yeah, what an advantage in draft, and also it's such a mental advantage as well to have an insurance policy. Thinking you have the better AD carry going into the game lets your players say, okay, if it gets to a scaling fight, if the game is even, we'll win late game because we have the better AD carry. So he brings confidence to his teammates. He lets his coaches draft flawlessly. Yeah, he's certainly, if not one of the most valuable players in the West to have ever played the game.
By the way, Loco, you actually bring up a pretty valid point there, which is that is the area LCS has done a terrible job in, is fucking recruiting bot lane players. Like, listen, believe it or not, one of the only teams I'll actually give a pass here is like 100 Thieves thought they were doing it when they got Bang. Like, that sounded like an awesome concept initially. Let's get Bang, we'll have Afromu, we already got all this late game macro, perfect, gonna be great, right? But where the fuck are all the, like, go look in the EU now. Mate, if I start listing EU AD carries, I can go 5 deep, and we're talking some pretty legit names.
So the instant counterpoint there is, like, you're not just comparing him to, like, any AD carry, you're comparing him to NA AD carries. Like, he is a non-import player who plays at a world-class level. And that is, from a roster building perspective, if you can have a North American AD carry that's playing at, like, an import level of, like,
that can teach support. That's a leader. That's
big
clutch.
Game situations. That's a leader. That's clutch, right? Like, this guy can do it all. And he's an incredible talent, once in a lifetime. His work ethic too really can't be overstated. His drive, he's an incredible guy.
I think the Sona thing is such a big thing. I'm sure Double Lift, when he comes to Worlds, there's gonna be competition. Like, he lost to Perks and Mickey X at MSI.
Absolutely.
Like, there's gonna be competition, but in NA there is no competition. NA bot lanes are even good enough to beat Sona. So I think that's like a huge part that goes understated in finals. I'm not sure how many people were on Doran's train of like, oh, Sneaky's so bad. Yes, Sneaky is bad, and maybe Sneaky wasn't the best player for C9, but if you can pick anyone else in NA to replace Sneaky, even then there's still a canyon between Double Lift Core JJ and whatever bot lane you're going to put there.
By the way, my point about Sneaky, because we can get into this now if you want.
Yeah, let's go for it.
It's not specifically, by the way, that this alone was like the worst series he played or whatever. Like, he had a couple of games that were pretty good, actually. My problem in general is he's like the more extreme version of the rot that I implied about Reapered in Cloud9, which is, like I say, when players have had their success in the past, that carries like an ungodly inertia in Cloud9's org for some reason. It doesn't like the whole point is, like I said earlier, poor Belter, all the guy did was just do a bad MSI, bad Worlds. Now, to be fair, it's not just all. That's like a fucking massive deal if you're the top team. But that was enough to make this guy be fired and lose his job. And they went and got Jensen instead, right? A Cloud9 wouldn't do that. They wouldn't. Like, just look at the history of what they've done the last few years. They would keep a player like that and go, they'd do a Loco. They'd go, well, try again next time. Maybe you'll improve a bit, like work with the coach. Yeah, they just have the optimism, right? And so, like, my main issue is, like I said on Twitter, I think it's years now that Sneaky's been getting away with it. Like, that's why I made the joke. Like, if you notice, a general theme with my jokes goes at Loco. They always actually have a real point behind them. And the reason why is because that's how I thought the joke up. I was thinking about the real analysis, and then I think from it, like, here's a funny way to say it. So instead of just saying Sneaky's been mad overrated for the last 2 years, has been an average AD carry in NA, I said the best cosplay Sneaky's ever done was pretending to be a top tier AD carry for the last 2 years.
Did you get blocked?
Flawless.
That was a good tweet.
First of all, I didn't tag him. Secondly, no one blocks me, mate. No one blocks me. How do you think I had 228k for? People need to know what I'm saying. That's the problem. Like, the real genius is, even if I'm flaming them, they're like, yeah, but I don't want to have to find out from someone else, and so I'll just fucking follow him. Which is like fair enough. And also, like I say, I never tag anyone. Like, the only time I ever tag someone if I BM them is it's like part of the banter, like they flamed me or something. So then it's like
you always tag me when you flame me.
Obviously, well, first of all, you come in my replies, mate. If you come into my replies, well, what do you want? That's like coming in the fucking lion's den when he's hungry, isn't it? Like, yeah, you're gonna get eaten. Sorry.
Yeah. So go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't. Go ahead.
So I made the initial premise. Come on, let's get in.
Yeah. So when you're thinking of Sneaky, like, do we replace Sneaky or not? Right. Let's get into it. You have to look at what your alternatives are, and you need an NA AD carry, right, to fit your same import structure.
Wait, one caveat: Spence Karen becomes resident, so they can actually use an import if they want to.
Sure. So now we open things up this next year. But up until this point, they have been constrained by the fact that they needed to find a North American AD carry. And like Thorn has talked about before, when you're looking at Double Lift and then underneath for North American AD carries, it's like maybe Cody's son, maybe Stixay. You're not sure. It's definitely up for grabs. And those players, Cody was available, but the rest were sort of locked up in franchise players because of how valuable North American bot laners actually are and how rare they are. And that like gets into my next point is even if you're looking at the academy level, there are very few like really, really good North American prospects at the academy system where you're thinking like, okay, this guy could be LCS ready in like a split or a year. You know, Tactical and Johnson, both on TSM, they're like bogarting these like two upcoming young, talented North American AD carries. But for the most part, like that's sort of where the list is like ending. Everybody else has sort of been here for a while. Like people like Keith or even like people like Rakara, like these are sort of known quantities. They're not more of like an up and coming talent. And we really don't have any up and coming like North American talent in the AD carry position besides these two players that I've mentioned. So
that's why the funny thing is that obviously they were signed as a sub deftly, didn't they? So they're implying that they might try and shift him in the future.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
and
the implication.
Yeah, they're trying, right? And like definitely certainly isn't like a world-class player or even close. He's relatively untested, relatively young. Perhaps they think that he has potential because he's better mechanically. Maybe he's capable of playing certain picks that maybe Sneaky isn't and things like that. So they think that he could be like a slight upgrade, but I don't really see Deathly as like, you know, the second coming of Doublelift. And in 2 years, we're going to be like, oh my God, thank God that Cloud9 signed Deathly because he is their ticket to a world championship. Like, I don't think I'm
actually
that
afraid
universe.
Because here's the problem. I even though I personally, anyone who's followed any of the show when I've talked about Golden Guardians, not a fan of Deathly. I mean, I actually found out there's worse players, so you can definitely come back to Golden Guardians if you want Deathly. But anyway, aside from that, I will just say this. Like, my actual fear is worse than that. I think all the narratives tie together. What I think they will do next year is they will just like, basically, Sneaky will become the Bengi of the team and he will play half the games and then Deathly will play half the games. And then when they want to do a Draven lock-in, they'll put Deathly in and play through him. And then when they don't want to, they'll still let Sneaky play like a shit team where he just gets a normal pick. And it'll be a way to extend his career, you know. Mm-hmm. Because like, if you just look at the way they've done things, like if any team was going to do that, it'd be a Reapered team. And that's one of the problems I have. Because here's another factor. One of the other things when you judge a player is obviously the context of, well, what's expected of him and what's his role in the team, right? This is another problem with the Sneaky angle. Because everyone's been in denial of who Sneaky is for the last 2 years, whether we get global meta drafts from Reapered where we have fucking Licorice on a tank and then we have Sneaky on the Kaiser or something, like, I don't want to see that. It is a waste of two people's talents. Like, should be like, listen, you can't have it the 100% the other way around. It'd be too predictable. But like the amount of times when it's a big game, it goes that way. By the way, funnily enough, exactly the criticism, if you remember Loco, I used to give to Golden Guardians. They would have games where they would just give fucking haunts to the tank and then go, right, Deathly, you're the one damage source. It's like, well, you can see where this is going to go, can't you?
Okay. I'll talk a little bit on the Sneaky thing. So Sneaky and Jack have been working together since the origination, or since C9 was a thing. Like, they've been together from the very beginning, and that's like a very, very strong connection. And where I'm usually on the player side, I'm usually on players can get better. One thing that cannot be understated is the window that we talked about, championship window. Spence Garen is in MVP form. All player graphs look like this. You start bad, you get better, and then eventually there's a decline. And usually that decline is very steep. You get better slowly, but you get bad really fucking fast. So when you're in this window of the player is near like the top of their career, like near peak form, it's really fucking important to take full advantage of it. Spence Garen on peak form. Licorice actually on the decline. I have no idea because of injuries.
Still good relative to NA though, is the key thing for him, right?
Niski consistently getting better and better and better.
Best, arguably,
a little bit one-dimensional. Can't play some of the core mages in the meta, but still very good player on the certain picks, and he's going to get better at it. Like, all these players are peaking. Even Zazel, to a certain degree. He's a new player that's consistently gotten better. Sneaky, on the other hand, I think has already played his best League of Legends. Doesn't mean he's a bad player, but C9 is an org that should have championship aspirations.
Yes.
Like,
if he wants to play for FlyQuest, play forever, mate. I would have no problem whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. He's someone like C9. The fan expectation is also championships. I heard, like, at Detroit, I wasn't there. Connor can speak of it. I heard there were so many C9 fans. I heard it was majority C9. It wasn't majority TL. It was majority C9. If your fan base is booming, if as an org you're doing so well and you're in this championship drought, is it okay to just make it out of groups at Worlds, maybe go to semis and do nothing? Like, are we going to care about C9's performance if they go to semis and get knocked out? Like, honestly, are we really going to care? TL is still going to be the North American team. The storyline for this year, no matter what happens at World, barring Cloud9 making finals, the storyline at Worlds will be TL 4-peated and TL was the NA team. And for Cloud9 to break that, they have to win a split. And the person I have to look at would be Sneaky.
Yeah, we talked about windows. This was definitely their window. Like you said, like Sven performing, like the best he's ever had. Like they probably had the roster to do it with Niski. And unfortunately, they weren't able to do it. I don't think we can put all the blame on Sneaky. Sure, maybe he wasn't playing at his best. Like you guys mentioned, maybe he's in his decline. I think they tried something, right? They signed deftly. They probably recognized these problems and looked for a solution. So I'll give them credit for trying. And I'm actually interested to see Cloud9 at Worlds, because historically Sneaky as a player has always done very well at Worlds, and he's been able to sort of like find this international Cloud9 gear where he can actually start performing in lane against some of these international bot lanes. And I don't know whether it's the solo queue, like maybe he goes to a low ping environment and he can spam solo queue and work on just playing more aggressively in lane, like posturing higher and like limit testing himself, and maybe that environment sort of brings his mechanics to a level where now he can contest in lane, or maybe he gets more motivation and drive and can play more disciplined. Like, I don't really know what it is, but I do know that historically Sneaky does perform much better internationally than he does in North America, because in North America we don't really consider him a strong laner necessarily, and we see that by his insane CS deficits in the grand final to Doublelift. But when he's been internationally in the past, he's had decent success in the 2v2 environment. So I'm curious if he'll be able to replicate that this year. And we also, I think we have to talk about Zeyzal as well. The AD carry position, you're handcuffed to your support. Pretty much anything you do in lane is predicated by the fact that your support has to be doing his job correctly. And I know that Sneaky in lane is a meme, as old as time. But I think this year, I forget where it came from, what source, but there was some kind of mutterings that maybe Zeyzal was the one who was like the problem with the Cloud9 bot lane, and maybe
it's when he was playing Lux, he was garbage. But as soon as Lux meta ended, he became better.
Right. So like Zeyzal historically like excels on like Alistar, right? Probably his best champion, plays it very, very well. But maybe like posturing in lane isn't his strength. Like we saw that on Lux, a champion that you need really careful micro within lane, and it demands you use micro to win the lane phase, or at least just get push. These kind of champions maybe aren't in his wheelhouse, and maybe they actually struggle to like aggressively win lane, and maybe they're more content to go 5-5 or 50-50. And if you're playing to go 50-50 against Doublelift, you will lose, and you will lose badly. And I think that will be the case against international bot lanes as well. So I'm interested to see how this duo develops and what a low ping environment. Actually, it's going to be a European boot camp, so hopefully they're in a place with low ping so they can get some good practice, and maybe we'll see Sneaky return to form. I hope so. I wish him the best, and I think he can do it. I know from what he said this season that he says he still has the drive that he's ever had, and that nothing's changed there despite him, growing his interests, which I do not think is a bad thing. I think that's a healthy thing, if anything. And I do think it was a little bit unfair that he was receiving so much backlash from the community for being a real person.
He shouldn't leave. There should be zero backlash for cosplay. There should be zero backlash for cosplay.
It's ridiculous.
Living outside of the house. Those are
ridiculous.
Like. Cosplay is like him having his own thing. Like, you shouldn't be tied down and play the game 14 hours. You don't need to leave a gaming in-house. The thing that's fair criticism towards Sneaky is play. Anything else beyond that is just bullshit.
Yeah, and I hate that these two narratives got like twisted this season, and like we were sort of combining his play with like these other things, and it was a sour taste in my mouth, right? I was sick to my stomach for him, because it's just so not fair for people to insinuate those things about a person that they do not know. But speaking of his play, I would agree. I think that in the finals he was outclassed by Doublelift, and it was not close.
Here's the funny thing, though. I'll actually take what you just said at the end there and explain why it actually shows that Cloud9 fans love Sneaky too much. They couldn't actually, their brain wouldn't let them touch the live wire electric ungrounded cord that said Sneaky's a bad player. So what they had to do was go, must be all the cosplay, right? That's it, yeah. Right, it's the cosplay.
Oh, yeah, they're fishing for some kind of reason,
in a
right?
mad way, even though I agree, it was a bullshit angle. In a way, they were sort of trying to do him a favor. That's why I even made the point, because he got mad when it was repeated by Mark and Travis. And I even said, mate, they clearly like you and are trying to fucking help you. Like, they're actually not trying not to flame you, but they're trying to find any angle. Like, I think he switched from the normal Dr. Pibb to the Dr. Pibb Extra. Maybe he has
it's so
problem
funny.
with it's like fucking hell. So my problem is this.
No, Travis actually didn't say that. Travis said Sneaky should play for the academy team. That was just fucking out of line.
That has to be out of context,
No,
right?
it was not out of context.
Say that.
Travis said Sneaky seems like he's interested in cosplay. He's interested in other things.
No.
He said he should play for the academy team.
Wasn't this on Hotline League and like didn't it come like wasn't their whole thing like a call not even about Sneaky and they were actually like
they did ask about the call, but Travis straight said he should play for the academy team.
Okay, I mean I think that's a little strong. Probably I don't think Sneaky should play for the academy team. Like I said, I still think for a North American AD carry he's good. I just think he was severely outclassed by Doublelift. And to be fair, you put any other AD carry in Sneaky's shoes in that tournament in the grand finals against Doublelift, I don't think there's any difference in that series. I think Doublelift is just too good. It's not Sneaky's fault they lost. That's just the story of Team Liquid is like your bot lane is going to lose to Doublelift and there's really nothing you can do about it. You can try and put jungle resources there, but Team Liquid has been playing around bottom since teams have been playing around bottom and they're probably better at it than you are. So good luck.
Right, anyway, there's two things to say. One, by the way, and for people who don't know, maybe I'll do some content in this actually. The key thing for me as well is my reason why I want any of these changes, Reapered, Sneaky, whatever, is because I actually want Cloud9 to win a fucking championship. Like if I was here, I'd say the opposite. I'd go, no, this is brilliant. Keep all of these things and keep doing the same thing every year and hope for a different result. No, same with Sneaky. Like the reason why I'm not going to hear people tell me Sneaky's fine now and just as good is because I remember how fucking good he actually was once upon a time. First of all, when he was just a role player, third carry threat, he was doing that job amazingly. He was actually one of the best NAs ever had. Because think about it, right? How rare is it your AD carry is going to be the third carry threat? It's very, very rare. So, like as a result, he had for many years he'd carved out his own like impact of the fucking AD carry role type rep. He was a consistent player, would play under pressure, would never just get smashed completely in lane, and would do great in team fights if he gets there. Brilliant. And he even had, if you go back to, I'm having to go off the top of my head here, I'd say like maybe early season 5, late season 4, he even had times when he was like a main carry, when obviously High had degraded a bunch and they actually were able to play around his lane. To be fair, AD carry was pretty broken. It was Lucian and all that shit that was like super strong. But he could be a carry threat as well. The problem is, Sneaky is none of those things now. Now it's like I said, if you took the nameplate off and you were like drafting, let's say we did a draft with no nameplates, he would end up being, like he could still be LCS player, but he would play for FlyQuest or Echo Fox or these would be the teams that would take him. It wouldn't be Cloud9. Like if there was no history, you wouldn't take him tomorrow, Jack. Come on.
Sneaky used to be the player that used to innovate, that used to be the first onto champion. Do you remember Sneaky Jin? Do you rember Sneaky Callista? Yep. He used to put in so much time to the game. He used to be the person that's innovating, like that's playing these champions first. Like, and that Sneaky isn't this Sneaky. Like, it just isn't. There was an actual argument for, like, Doublelift has gotten so much better, but there was actually a point where there was an argument. There wasn't, like, maybe Doublelift was still better, but it wasn't like this. Right now, it's like this. Sneaky and Doublelift are like this. It used to be like this, or even like this. It's just not the case anymore, and it's so hard to remove the nameplates. One other thing as well
is, in the beginning part of his career, once we actually found out Sneaky was a solid player, you could just say, well, like Lemonation was famously the player that everyone thought had shit mechanics and wasn't like a really great support. You could be like, well, he's handcuffed to this guy, so what can he do? And then now you could even say, well, Zazel's still pretty young. He's not experienced. This guy had Prime Smoothie as his support. As soon as I saw the years he played with Prime Smoothie, I was out on the idea he could ever be a Doublelift. Like, mate, that's when you become the Doublelift, is when you have a player like that. So, because the key thing is, I said Prime as well. I didn't say like season 9 Smoothie. I'm talking like when he was in amazing lane, shot calling, everything. Like that's when, by the way, if you're an AD carry who's really good, you become the best in the region. Like think about it. The shot callers in your lane. Like,
that's what Doublelift did, right?
You can take your advantage and shift it all around the map. That's why Doublelift Afromu was like such a great moment in his career that turned him around as a player, of course.
Yeah, and also with Core now, like Doublelift, yes, he's been the best in the West, and like Loco said, in the past it's been arguable. Like we can sort of like, for the sake of a narrative, be like, is Sneaky or Doublelift the best Wation AD carry of all time, and we can kind of hash that out. And now there's just no debate, but we do have to consider that this is going to be this is the 4th split that Doublelift's been laning with Core, right? And Core JJ is just an absolute animal in lane. Like he is 1v2ing like many of these lane situations. Like when you go and you watch his pro view, he is so crisp and his movement in lane phase is pixel precise. Like he is very, very rarely in the wrong position, and he's constantly applying so much pressure that he gives Doublelift room to manage the wave exactly as he wants and trade exactly as he wants. And we see that with massive CS advantages in the early game. And that's mostly coming from how they manipulate their wave and how they actually position according to each other and relative to their wave. So yeah, Core JJ is on an absolute another level in terms of how he pressures the lane with Doublelift. And also, like I said, but like I've said this before, but bot lane is like a dance where you have to be completely in sync with your partner. And if one of you guys is out of sync or steps wrong, you're going to get punished, or you'll miss a potential punish. And Doublelift and Core are almost always in sync, and it's on another level compared to other bot lanes.
By the way, that is actually a great analogy to give as well, because this might shock Locodoco. I've actually taken dance classes before. I'm not claiming to be a good dancer, by the way, but just like, in a scenario where
we can go clubbing when you're in LA.
And that is actually the tough thing, because I've done like the Spanish dancing where you do like tango and stuff like that. Right?
Sure.
And the problem is, this is why it's a great analogy for bot lane. It's not even that like you don't make a mistake. The key thing is you can dance exactly the pattern correctly, but if your partner fucks it up, it will fuck you up.
Exactly.
Like your timing gets thrown off, and then you step on that, and then like it goes totally to shit. So actually, it's another example, by the way, of that famous thing that they say in League, where like it's better to have like a bad plan that everyone's on the same page of than all have like 5 great plans that are separate. It's the same scenario. Like sometimes when you dance, because in some of these dance schools, by the way, like what they do is they have like basically a thing where you swap like every minute or two, you swap to a different partner. And this is why, because they teach you to like adapt to someone else's rhythm, basically. Because the person you dance with, you might be perfect with, you might be in harmony. Well, think about how many bot lanes just played together. Like Sven and Mithy is a great example. They just played together for like 3 or 4 years, didn't they? Mm-hmm. So as a result, that's why I told you, Loco, as soon as they split Sven up from Mithy, I was like, I want to see what this is like. Because everyone's taken for granted he's the best, he's going to be amazing. You've never seen him out that. He was a challenger player last time he played with other people. So like it's easy to get thrown off by shit like that when you're in that lane, I think.
Last storyline I want to touch on, unless you guys have anything else to add on. What was your thoughts on Niski versus Jensen, Duncan?
Game 5 was brilliant. I just sat back with some popcorn. I was roasting some s'mores. And what I thought was, right, I actually had my PayPal open, and I thought every time Niski gets a double or a triple kill, I'm going to donate $1,000 to charity. And I was sat there, and actually at the end, the Make-A-Wish Foundation contacted me and gave me $100.
I see.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we can start with Game 5.
By the way, Loco, just as an aside, like I'm not going to crow too much about this, because actually, to be fair, Niski didn't play terribly. He certainly wasn't the worst player in any way. But first of all, he definitely gets a lot of resources and picks, Loco. He even gets comps built around him. Mm-hmm. And secondly, what was it I said as the primary reason why I thought you should have Froggen over Niski? It's because I said, when you are the best teams and you play at the best level and you're playing for the championship, you want to have superstar players because they take over the big game and win you the game. Now, here was your boy Niski. I saw him in Game 5 against Bjergsen in the spring. I saw him in Game 5 here. In Game 5, Clark Kent turns up when Superman's supposed to be here. He runs in like, it's okay, folks, I'm here. What, I'm still dressed as Clark Kent. Is there a phone booth anymore? Nah, all out of business today, mate. Superman's supposed to turn up in Game 5. Where was he?
Artemis, say your thoughts. Don't touch on the Froggen thing. We should touch that on the end if we need to. Okay. But don't touch on that. Don't touch on that.
Let's go for Jensen, okay? So let's go for Jensen. So I watched this series pretty casually the first time. I was in the audience for the first game and part of the second game, and then we went out to dinner, and I was watching on my phone. And then on the plane ride back to LA today, and then before the show, I took time to go back through the Team Liquid series just so I was prepared for this and actually analyze it and not just watch it as like a casual observer watching a grand final. And I took some notes for fun, and none of my notes are like pointing towards Niski. Like in any of their losses, like the things that actually break the game for Cloud9 were not Niski. Okay. In some of their wins, it was on the back of his play, right? So Niski is a guy in this series who, one, like was winning games for Cloud9, and two, was not losing games for Cloud9. And I don't think you can say that about anyone else on that roster for that series. That being said, I think that Jensen did outperform in this series. Absolutely. I think that he kind of settled the debate that Niski tried to create himself coming into this, like who actually is the best mid laner in North America this split? Because I think it was wide open. Like as soon as Bjergsen falls
by
for
the way, even a genius narrative, because since everyone's going to acknowledge that Sven Skaren was better than Nick Smithy, that's the clever way to do it. What you spin it as is, well, if better jungle wins, why am I beating you? It's a pretty clever way to spin, actually. I thought it was a good angle.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Credit to him. I think he did great things for his brand this year. Niski's brand has absolutely exploded this year. Like, not many people even knew who he was. And now, like, people are like talking about him as one of the best mid laner in North America, right? It's crazy. So props to him for what he did. And
still never made the top of locals list at any point in time. But yeah.
That's true. And that's what matters, right? And that's what matters.
Yeah.
But okay, so I will say yes, that I think that Jensen did outperform Niski in this series, but I think that Jensen had a much easier job to do, and that's something I talk about all the time. Is players on good teams just need to do their jobs. It's as simple as that. It's like a Bill Belichick system thing. If you have a good system and if you're a good team, you do your job within this system and you win games more often than you lose, and you win championships. And that's why the Patriots always win. And that's why Team Liquid always wins. So Jensen's job isn't to solo kill Niski. His job is to not get solo killed, right? Like, they're saying, like, I'm going to pick you a Akali, Jensen, right? Like, you don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to kill this guy. You just need to pilot Akali, do your best to pick up a free kill here and there if you can, and we will win the game through better macro and better team play. Right? There's no pressure on you at all. Play this matchup out in a low risk way. Like, do whatever you need to do. Like, your team is behind you and you can trust them. So I don't think Jensen had to take any risks this series, except for maybe in game 5, he styled on them. He 1v2'd the mid lane gank, but you can't pick Jarvan against Akali. The champion is absolutely useless. Like, you can't gank Akali with Jarvan. It doesn't do anything. Like, maybe you'll hit auto him once and then, like, you're not going to hit your flag and drag.
Yeah, but then Reapered would just go wrong.
I mean, it's not arguable. It's just a fact. Objectively, Jarvan is a poor pick into Akali. Okay, and also I did have a bit of a gripe about their Game 5 draft. I really didn't like the way
Caitlyn instead of Akali. Oh my god.
Oh no, I mean no. This could be okay, right? Because Game 1, they're like, no, listen.
Let him talk. Okay, explain to me why.
Okay, so I don't know, right? But I'm assuming here that after Game 1, Cloud9 said, if we give double lift in core JJ, Xayah Rakan, we lose the game 100% of the time. 10 times out of 10, they beat us with this duo. So what they have to do is they have to create a way where they can pick the Xayah themselves 1-2 on red side. And to do that, you have to invest a ban. Yuumi is a must ban on red side. And also, if you give Sona to double lift in a Game 5, it's over, right? So this it felt like I was watching Clutch against Team Liquid Game 5, where Cloud9 is like, well, guys, like, we got to open something. Like, do you want to open Akali, Xayah Rakan, Sona, or Yuumi? And the players are like, what? Like, we don't want to open any of that. Like, what do you mean? Like, there has to be something we can do. And Reaper's like, no, I have 3 bans. Like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. So they gave them the Akali. That being said, I thought the answer to it was extremely poor. I don't think Aatrox is a good matchup against Akali. Maybe it's slightly playable on top.
Sylas.
Certainly not on mid. Sylas was banned this series. It was banned on blue side by Team Liquid.
Wait, did they ban it first 3?
Team Liquid banned it third. So Team Liquid banned Sylas third on blue side and first picked Akali. But even still, Aatrox cannot win against Akali in mid lane. It's just not a good matchup. And then you're picking it with Jarvan, and you're going to somehow try and kill this Akali. Like, Jensen 1v2'd easily. He easily 1v2'd that mid lane gank, and they banned Skarner and Trundle themselves on the 4-5 to somehow set up for a Jarvan. Like, Team Liquid intelligently banned Gragas and Sejuani, but Gragas, Sejuani, and Skarner are all decent answers to Akali. Like, I think Skarner maybe slightly better, but all 3 are serviceable. Jarvan is not. So as long as you just don't touch one of those 3 junglers, you will guarantee yourself getting the one on the 4 pick, and then you can counter pick on 5. But for some reason, they touch the jungle pool and self-ban Skarner against Akali, and then they're like, wait, there's been how many 4 jungle bans in the second phase? I don't have a pick. Like, I guess I'll just play Jarvan here. And it was awful. And then Jensen kind of ran away with that game and definitely had a good performance. So again, I do think that Jensen has the advantage of he is the better team, so there's less of a burden on him to carry as opposed to Niski, where oftentimes the game is about him and how well he does. So it is kind of hard to compare them in a vacuum, but still I do think that Jensen got the better of him this series.
What about Game 4? Game 4 is where I really want to talk about Fnav.
Wait a minute, let's talk a bit more about the Game 5.
All right,
there's more we can do with this. Because remember, the key thing about the Game 5 one is obviously the whole game is on the line. Like, what you do in the draft is going to be, not only is it like going to decide whether you win the game or to some degree, but it's going to set up where your players mentally are going into that game. They know what tools they have to work with. So, like, one thing I already think, if you want to tie into the whole angle of, like, the fact that they had to take Xayah for Sneaky, like, obviously not exactly the ideal champion to put Sneaky on, but one of the problems in the whole series for my money is there's another thing they had to use Sneaky for. He has to take picks away from double lift. You can't just give double lift Kai'Sa every fucking game. So I mean, Sneaky has to play it when you can. So that's like, already you're loading up Sneaky with, like, not an outright weakness, but it's going to make it harder for him. And then the other part is when they do this draft, remember, everything can't be in isolation. So I agree, like, Aatrox mid there doesn't look like a great lane, right? That's our main carry player. Oh, well, who's going to carry after that? Well, we've given Licorice Vladimir. Like, what is this shit? You're going to win this game.
You're right. Yeah, like you have to play to your players' strengths, and maybe you're not going to carry through bot lane against Team Liquid. But like looking at the drafts, like big picture, I think that Cloud9 had the opportunity to have winning bot lane matchups in 3 out of these 5 games, which it shouldn't be the case. I think Team Liquid should be able to construct a winning bot lane situation. Maybe they just thought that they didn't even need it. Like for example, the Ezreal Braum game, like they're picking that strictly for team comp. They're playing side lane LeBlanc against Gragas Kiana composition, even though they didn't side lane. And they went mid for 8 minutes in a row during that game, and they're just 5v5ing on mid and eventually got the Baron. It was crazy to me that LeBlanc wasn't splitting top with her advantage. The game would be unplayable for Cloud9
By the way, Loco,
but they didn't.
Did you enjoy that moment where all I did is I just tweeted one word. I just tweeted Svensson, where for no reason whatsoever, Jensen just like distorted in, but like on this left side of the fucking mid river and just got instantly killed by like 3 people for no reason whatsoever as well. It's like, I'll just have a look over this wall. Yeah, I'm dead. It's like, why are you doing? Look, like it didn't actually end up being a cost in the series, but fucking hell, it's mad how many players make those moves, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But back to the sneaky in the drafts, you talked about how it was a burden for him to have to pick away from Doublelift or pick the Xayah away from Doublelift, and I agree that could potentially be a burden for them. But the way the drafts actually played out, it should technically be an advantage for Sneaky every time he has to do that. So you pick the Xayah onto with a Caitlyn ban, Team Liquid has to pick away either the Rakan on the 2-3 and couple it with an AD carry, or they have to pick a full counter on the 2-3. So in either of those cases, Cloud9 always has the opportunity to counterpick support on 3 on red side, should guarantee a winning bot lane matchup. So they thought that their best matchup with the Xayah against like Kai'Sa Rakan was Alistar. So there they take away the Xayah, arguably the best AD carry on the patch. They have counterpick support. You should expect them to win that matchup. They got the exact same matchup twice. In both cases, they were outperformed when they had counterpick and technically a winning matchup. So again, it was just a case of Team Liquid's bot lane was playing matchups better than Cloud9's. I don't think it had much to do with draft at all. If anything, I think Cloud9 was putting resources into draft to help Sneaky succeed. I don't think they were putting a burden on him in draft at all. So with that angle, I think it was even more impressive what Doublelift was able to do that series.
Tell you what, if Reapered was drafting for Team Liquid, like their actual players, he'd get some fucking sick drafts out there. He's got impacts, tanks all day long. He gives nice, like, strong picks in the mid lane to fucking Jensen. And then he has Doublelift on all the carries. So, like, they tell you what, you'd be a brilliant coach for Team Liquid.
It's drafting for TL, you mentioned before, is the easiest shit ever.
Like,
but the joke there is he doesn't draft for Cloud9,
right?
does he?
And maybe Locodoco can beat Cloud9 in the best of 5. We're not sure, but
I've done that before. You haven't. I've done that before.
That's true. I'm sorry. I shouldn't talk.
Anyways, going to game 4.
Sorry.
No. You can make fun of me. That's part of the show. Going to game 4, that was where Cloud9 blew their chance. You're blue side for the last time in the series. If you lose this game, you're not going to be blue side versus Team Liquid. Impact is getting solo killed by Licorice on Poppy. You have Kiana Gragas. Like, you have everything in your power.
They have the God draft, right? Like,
everything.
It's a pretty damn
Loco,
game for Cloud9.
Loco, listen, let's be fair. What did I make fun of DeMonte about last episode?
What? Oh,
anyone can play fucking mid lane Kiana and dumpster the game. Apparently, except your boy. Except your boy. Well, obviously not PoE, but not your boy Niski. He ain't dumpstering anyone, mate.
You know, Niski he's good at Kiana. I will say, like Niski is actually good at Kiana.
Niski fucked up, and also Spence Garen fucked up some of the engages. When they fucked up that bottom dive, oh my fucking god.
It was tragic. It was absolutely tragic.
They got Herald. They took top turret already. It's Ezreal Braum. You get the bot turret. Ezreal can't get to 2 items fast enough. Ezreal can't stack tier fast enough. Ezreal Doublelift won't be online until 25 minutes. Like, you get both outer turrets, and then you start setting up for mid. It's game over. That one dive, 4-man dive with Kiana Gragas, that should have been game over, and Cloud9 fucked it up.
The game was still playable, and like Team Liquid was playing into Cloud9's win condition for 8 minutes straight. From 20 to 28 minutes, Team Liquid is opting in to 5v5s around mid. It was 3 or 4 5v5s around mid in a row in that 8-minute sequence, and I'm watching the game losing my mind that, like, why isn't Jensen like playing the draft? Like, it's a very, very clear win condition draft. Like, you do not want to group up and contest the Kiana Gragas in tight spaces, so let's split them out. Let's pick mobile carries in Ezreal and LeBlanc. Let's outrange their short range comp with Ezreal. Let's put LeBlanc on side lane, and let's win the game through side lane pressure. Let's not actually play into their composition. And what does Team Liquid do? they give Cloud9 every opportunity to win the game. So I really think the onus was on Cloud9 through the entirety of Game 4. Even despite failing that bot lane dive, I do think they had chances to win because Team Liquid is literally running into their team comp and opting into 5v5s around mid when arguably the better composition for that is Cloud9's. So I'm not going to give them a free pass even after the failed dive. I think they had winning chances. And like we said before, if they were going to win the series, against Team Liquid, you're not going to win Game 5. So
that's why their own fucking social media team jumped the gun and did that tweet like, haha, Jensen has given us a chance.
That's true. Yeah.
Wait, my bad. It's like, yeah, because they thought cool, the game's won. That's why I said, when you look back on this series, this is why I don't go with the angle that Loco was initially setting up of like, well, Cloud9's not supposed to be the team that wins. Team Liquid's got all the best players and they've got this insurmountable edge. What you want about? In literally, like, first of all, they were like playing better than Team Liquid in most of the games in the fucking series. Just Team Liquid was the more clutch team and always closed it out.
They're definitely clutch. They won 2. They won how many Game 5?
Won with that draft in Game 1. Yeah. They could have had that one. Game 4 was doable. Game 5's about the only one that got out of control really badly.
Yeah, and Game 5s tend to do that, right? Like there's
Game
so much pressure
mental.
on you.
Game 5's all mental.
Yeah, it's all mental. Yeah. And as soon as you start losing in Game 5, your brain's like, oh my God, is this actually happening? Like, oh my God, are we actually going to lose? And it requires an insane amount of poise and self-control and self-awareness to actually keep those intrusive thoughts out of your head. And, only true veterans and true peak performance athletes are able to do that. And it's a very uncommon skill, and you can't really blame players for falling to the Game 5 pressure. I felt the energy walking on stage to Silver Scrapes. I wasn't even in the grand final. I'm in a third, fourth place match, right? And still, the Game 5 energy in a stadium like that in Detroit is absolutely incredible. And the weight on those players' shoulders is massive. So I don't fault Cloud9 to losing to Team Liquid Game 5 when Team Liquid had blue side. Game 4, though, I do think they had winning chances. And, there's a lot of parallels to the clutch series against Team Liquid. I thought that we had chances in that series as well. For me, it felt like Game 1 was really the game where we were going to win the series if we were going to. It was our red side game. We had a really creative draft, and I thought we had the better draft by far, and we just instantly lost a fight at top pixel. The game snowballed out of control instantly. We lost 20 minutes, and we were just okay, that was our red side game. That was our game to pick up a win on red side. Didn't make it happen, went to Game 5, and then they took it home because that's what Team Liquid does. So nice try by Cloud9, I guess, but Team Liquid is just too good.
Yeah.
And by the way, just for the record, Sneaky didn't have the worst performance of that
absolutely not
stage. No, that was the absolute shitter woman who did that fucking opening song. She was easily the worst of all of them.
I don't get why
they're so mean to her. I just want to say, watching it live, I'm not looking at the big screen. I don't care what she's doing with her tongue. She's an artist, performing in front of 10,000 people, trying to do her thing. Maybe her monitor was fucked up. Maybe she can't hear herself, and she's just guessing if she's on key or not. We have no idea what's going through this woman's head, and everybody is just judging her for the position of her tongue. So for me, it was a bit off color. And I will say that being there live, I did think it was enjoyable. I was just watching the actual performance. I wasn't watching the monitor, and it sounded decent live. I'm not going to say it sounded great. It sounded decent. When she came back on the second time, it was better than the first time. I do think, though, that there was problems with the monitor, if I had to guess, because I've been a performer myself and have an experience with that. I do think that something was messed up with her monitor because she was pretty off key, and it sounded like she couldn't hear herself. So that would be my guess.
I will say this, and I'm going to have to obviously ruin a lot of kids' dreams right now. You do know that every music video you see is auto-tuned to fuck. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, I mean, performing live is incredibly difficult, especially in a venue like that.
It's very rare
so
you're going to
loud.
be as good as the video, etc.
It's rare you even sound good. You could be the best singer in the world. If you can't hear yourself, you will not be able to sustain a song on key. So even a fantastic singer would fall prey to a technical difficulty like that. Maybe I'm just bailing this woman out, and maybe
Artemis, you're good looking. You don't have to be nice.
I mean, I'm not trying to sugarcoat this or anything. I was just genuinely disappointed that people weren't able to appreciate it at all. And despite it maybe not being the best performance I'd ever seen, far from it, I thought it was still enjoyable being there live. But I've yet to watch it on broadcast. I kind of don't want to. Honestly, I don't want to watch it on broadcast because it's probably pretty bad because the criticism was.
I even thought this might sound weird, but one angle I didn't even like about it was I kind of like it when pop stars look like pop stars. Either they dress up in the, the exotic outfits, or if they're a rocker, you have the image, like the cool. She looked like someone's aunt who goes knick-knack and then drives a fucking Subaru. And
that's her thing, though. Like, that's her thing. Like, she can wear whatever she wants. Yeah. It's her show.
Probably sells her own jam on the fucking website.
Who cares what she wears? Like, I get it. Like, it's a spectacle, right? So, like, we should be allowed to have an opinion about that. But, like, Jesus Christ, give this woman a break, guys. Like, it's too much. It's just too much.
I won't trash on the girl, but I just thought the opening ceremony was just so unfitting. Like, man,
yeah, it was actually not executed that well. Like when they were all standing, looking at each other by the trophy for like 20 seconds, like not sure if they should like leave stage or stand there, and then eventually Impact just kind of like okay, and like decided that it was over and walked away. Like I thought that was pretty funny, but yeah, the live spectacle, like being there, like I have to say it was well done. And I enjoyed the opening ceremony, not even just the performance, everything. Like I said, I've yet to watch it on broadcast, so I shouldn't really pass judgment.
Yeah, so when I think back to spring, and when I think back to like spring opening ceremony, I remember Captain Flowers yelling, "This is a 6-time LCS champion versus like a 6-time LCS champion." Like the way it was prepped, like the like Sven looking over Jensen. Like there were so many iconic moments to like the spring opening. Where summer opening, the iconic moment is like everyone whining and bitching about the girl sticking out her tongue, or like them not liking the music.
Oh God, we need to teach players how to use a crowd. Like it was painful to me that like the tunnel opens, the spotlight's on him, blah 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 blah, Impact, and he's walking with like one wave. Like where's somebody like coming out hype, and like fucking like getting the crowd up and actually like getting some energy in the crowd and like being a performer. Like this is a sports and entertainment industry. And I thought like the entertainment value of the opening ceremony, like a lot of the onus is on the players. Like they have to actually like be somebody you want to watch and express themselves somehow in that moment. And they were all just very, they were focused, sure. And they don't want to like get out of their zone, which I respect. But still, we just didn't see any personality from any of the players.
Dude,
so I thought it could have done better for sure.
Duncan, add on this after me, but some of the broadcast elements were just so bad. Like in middle of the series, I'm like super hyped for the series. I'm watching at my place, and then a Jensen clip comes on. Jensen's like, me and C9, we used to be good friends. When they kicked me, it wasn't that great, but now we're good friends. I wouldn't mind losing to them. I'm like,
wait,
what?
That's what they said? That was the entirety of the interview?
There was a small clip.
That was the sentiment.
Yeah, there's a small clip they played. I'm like, what? Why do you have this clip? Why are you playing this clip? I'm watching a hyped-ass final. I want to hear Jensen say, I fucking hate C9. Like, they kicked me off. Like, I was depressed after I got kicked from C9. I wanted to crush them forever. Like, why is Jensen telling me he's okay if he loses to C9? And why does Riot think it's okay to play this clip? I was flabbergasted.
I'll just say, as a general rule, never put anything on, like I've made this point before in the past, Loco, but I'll reiterate it in case anyone doesn't know. Like, people might think I'm going to be hypocritical if I imply you should be serious and professional, because they might think, like, obviously, if you ever look up foreign highlights, CSGO, it's going to be all the ridiculous moments on the desk where I'm like smashing a fucking baguette or something. But what they don't realize is those are all just like fun moments in the show as well. Like, that's a moment when it's appropriate. Like, it was a rubbish game, or it was like a big overdog against an underdog, and like they won easily, and there was fuck all to talk about. That's when we added that in for entertainment. If it's ever like the grand final of a massive tournament, I give it the gravitas the moment deserves. Like, this is an epic moment. I even always think to myself, something which I think would be very useful for people in esports to do, but they don't do what I do. I even think, imagine someone's watching this 10 years later, and this is like an epic final they're pulling up on YouTube, and they're like, oh, let me see one Doublelift won the 7th title. Right now, imagine it's all like wah wah wah, all like fucking little skits and like the kind of shit they'd put on like Korean television on like the gaming channels, where it's all the fucking line friends like type emojis and fucking like those weird sound effects where like and like the fucking sweat kind of drip comes down their head and like all the fucking emojis and stuff. Like, that's not appropriate for a massive grand final. Like, the theme of this final, there was 2 storylines you had to nail here, Riot. One, will Team Liquid become the first team to ever get 4 in a row? By the way, even better storyline, because they used to be the team that finished 4th. There's a whole genius element you can tie in very easily. Second storyline is, will Jensen stop Cloud9 winning their first championship since he'd joined their team? So as a result, well, like what Loco's saying there, even if in the interview Jensen tells me, actually, you know what, if I had to lose to one team, I wouldn't mind if it was Cloud9. They deserve it. You cut that out of the fucking interview. That goes to the floor. What you do is the next question goes something like, okay, but let's say it went the other way, though. Let's say they win, and then all their players even banter you, and they say, like, oh, we didn't need Jensen. How would you feel if he's then like, well, I would feel kind of sick to my stomach. There you go. That's the clip. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Like they could have set up the narrative so much better.
Yeah, like I'm not.
You
even
can be
saying,
friends
like,
after the game.
Exactly.
Jensen can be friends with C9 after the game, but during the series, please let me believe Jensen hates Cloud9. Please let me believe Jensen wants to do everything in his power to prevent Cloud9 from getting the trophy. Please let me believe, like, Spence Garen wants to tell Doublelift, like, I inted on TSM, like, I was bad on TSM, but I'm gonna take this trophy away from you. I'm gonna deny you the fourth. Let me believe that during the series. Like, they can be friends. I know no one wants to kill each other. I know no one really hates each other. But for the fans and for the observers and for, like, anyone interested in League of Legends, like, please let this storylines, like, live during the finals. Like, let us be hyped.
Yeah, like, this is the moment for it, right? Like, don't, like, temper it like that. Like they had such a big opportunity to play off that storyline. Like I said, I didn't watch the broadcast, so I don't know what the interview was like, but that does not sound conducive to the hype I would want in that series. That's for sure.
And by the way, I'll just throw it in there. It's also like a wider problem than just Riot. It's just we're giving an example where it was very pertinent. Like, for example, even though in Dota 2, it is a big thing that their scene loves memes, because if you know the way their scene works, like they don't moderate it very much. Obviously, Valve doesn't interrupt much, so they kind of get to do what they want, right? In the TI final, they were playing similar segments. They were playing like fucking cooking segments between maps. And I was literally sat there thinking like, guys, again, if I'm an old school, if I'm looking up like what was the second person who ever win TI twice, like, and I look up this VOD and it's all fucking like jokes. It's like, what is this garbage? Like, same with when they go and do an interview with a random person in the crowd. So who are you a fan of? Who gives a fuck? Send it back to the analyst desk. That was
who is this person?
That's for the quarterfinals or the third place game or something. Yeah, like don't fucking do that on the final. Come on, have some. This is one of the reasons, Loco, why I haven't been able to fully effect change. But first of all, did you notice that when a year ago, when Bjergsen was going for his 6th title, I made that video where I said that Riot didn't respect this angle and they didn't play it up. They immediately started doing it right after that. So fair play, they took notes. But the problem is I want more of that. Like one of the things I did in CSGO that actually like basically started to turn this aspect of our industry around was when they used to do the player intros and the team intros, like introducing Team Envious or whatever, right? They were just literally hiring one of those movie trailer voice guys, you know, where you pay them by the hour and they all have their own home studio. And all you do is basically, they don't know anything about the game. You send them a script and you just say, read these lines, and they're all pros. Like, you know, they hit the emphasis of the word and they make it sound awesome, right? So what they did is one of the early majors in CSGO in 2015, said to me, could you just write like a sentence for each team? Like what would be a cool way to describe each team? So I did it, and you can go watch it on YouTube. And basically, even when people didn't know I'd written it, the response to these intros was off the chain, because people were like, holy fuck, like did this guy, like, does he know who these players are? Like he described like what the team, because what I did with the sentence was I'd describe sort of like something about the storyline or the theme of the team. Like, you know, this team's a very tactical team that won't be broken down until you can attack the weak, but you know, and so what it did was it was specific to the team, but it also was cool. It built a narrative. And so for many tournaments since then in CSGO, I've done that. I've written like more and longer and so these intros now, it does exactly what you want. It builds the hype, because by the way, I didn't invent this shit. Like you think I haven't watched a million like TNT NBA ones or fucking NFL ones? Like traditional sports are the masters of this, but esports should really embrace this, because remember, guys, at the end of the day, it's always cool for a human being who is less than 7 feet to jump up into the air and to slam a ball through a 10-foot hoop. You can never do that. So you know intuitively that's amazing. In esports, they are all sat looking at PCs. And listen, the graphics look nice on a screen, but you've got to do more with the around part. Like, I don't want them to feel like they're just sat doing on a PC. I want it to feel like a fucking gladiator arena and it's life or death. And you know what? I'd have even played up an angle here. This is where, if you're not a pussy, Riot, here's the third storyline you didn't do. What if Sneaky becomes the first player to lose 6 finals? Guess what? They don't give a fuck in traditional sports. They'll go ruthless with that shit in traditional sports. If you've blown every grand final that you were in, that they won't accidentally not mention that on the broad. They'll make that part of the storyline. This is your last chance. Definitely. Can he do it, or will he become the only one to ever lose 6?
Just there was such an easy theme around trophies. What does trophies mean to you? What would a 4th trophy mean to you? What would the first trophy in 5 years mean to you? Just trophies. Like, Everyone talked about it. Your casters talked about it. Players talked about it in interviews outside.
Oh, even there's another one. Same thing, Loco. For this one, it's the easiest one ever. You're right. This one, actually, the stories write themselves. Like, here's another one. Sven Skeren's whole narrative should have been, can he win the trophy without TSM? There we go. If he does that, that's a brilliant angle on, like, well, why did TSM kick me? You know, he's got his own storyline that comes out. Like, literally, this was one where you couldn't go wrong, basically. Everything.
Niski versus Jensen, double of Core JJ, MVP on C9 side. These are 3 MVP candidates. It's Sven Skeren, we're the MVP candidate, we're the MVP winner over Core JJ double. Like, the stories wrote themselves.
Even the junglers, like those 2 junglers have won, I think, something like the last, like, 7 championships between the 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's were you guys looking for more like interview narrative building? Because I agree that the narrative building and the storytelling like was pretty subpar, but I actually really enjoyed like the media that they created. Like I thought the NF hype videos they did were fantastic.
Yeah,
like, really well done. Like probably one of my favorite like hype videos Riot's done in a long time. Like I thought they were like pretty cool from a cinematography perspective. Like I liked the
problem
music.
was like I liked that whole thing where they had the smoke grenades and stuff, but why? Like they only really had the players there though. What about the coaches? I wanted Weldon to be there because his whole skills is smoke and mirrors. So
Okay.
he's muted yourself, I think, mate. I think you've muted yourself.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, you set me up for that one, huh? Yeah, but like I enjoyed the videos a lot, but I do think that they could have done more. Like I would have liked to see, this is always kind of weird because you put the 2 players like together from opposing teams and the players don't want to do that. But like I want them in the same frame. You know, like I want Sneaky and Doublelift on a stool beside each other.
Like UFC.
Yes, exactly. I want a UFC weigh-in where I have Niski and Jensen saying what they said in those interviews, but I want them saying it to their face. Like I want to see the emotion in, you know, like Jensen's face when Niski says, like, I don't know why you're comparing me to this guy. He hasn't done shit. Like I want a zoom in on Jensen's face, like when
trash
Niski
talk.
says that.
It's not like you have timid players. Niski trash talk all the time. Sven Skeren trash talk. Doublelift Jensen. Do I even have to say it? Like these are trash talkers. You don't even just stick them in a room and like Phil.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so they definitely dropped the ball on that one. It would have been cool to see, but at the same time, the hype videos were sweet for me. So hopefully they keep executing really high production quality content moving forward, and then maybe do some better job storytelling. But I think it was a step in the right direction, even still.
Dude, Jensen just saying like, do you know what happened to the last person that trash talked me and show like clip of Zeben? Like just there was so much Riot.
Give me anything, right? Give me anything other than just like the hype videos, because the hype videos were sick. But like I want more. Like for me, I always want more like access to the players. I want their emotions, right? I think that this is an entertainment business, like I've said before, and the best way that you can, build your brand as a player is actually be vulnerable to your spectators and to your fans, and actually like let them in to what's happening inside your head, and like actually like display emotion. And I think that, whenever you can construct moments like that, you should. And this was such a perfect opportunity to do so, and they just didn't do enough of it.
All right. Let's start closing out the show. Duncan, any final thoughts?
I mean, I said at the beginning of the split, Team Liquid would win. I said during the split, Team Liquid would win. I said during the playoffs, Team Liquid would win. They won.
Wow, you bet on the favorites.
Oh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, Loco. You didn't pick them to be, so how could they be the favorites?
I picked Hope. I picked the love.
No way, right?
You did.
No
He's
way.
lying. He didn't pick Hope. You actually thought TSM would win.
No way, right?
At the start of the summer season.
Come on, dude.
I only have love. But okay, for going into this finals, I picked TL to win 3-2, and I got that 100%
I even
correct.
told Loco, by the way, like I didn't predict TSM would fall apart as bad as they did, but I even told him, dude, I think you've got totally the wrong read. Like from the spring split, to me, Cloud9 was clearly the second best team. They just fucked up that series. Like to Loco, he took all the positives and just deleted the negatives. Like, and then he did the classic thing of like, but what if they improve? It's like that's always the question.
I hoped.
Is it because that's because you've got so used to telling that to all the people in your life? Like, but if I just improve, like there won't be a lot of these problems. And then they're like, all right, I'll give you one more chance.
Not why, but I believe.
He's like, no way. Okay.
Artemis, final words.
For me, to wrap it up, like I expected Team Liquid to perform well. I expected them to win. I actually expected them to win in dominating fashion. Yes. I was actually surprised that the series went 5 games. Very surprised. I expected it to be a clean 3-0. I was actually in the stands for game 1, and people around me were like, oh, because I was seeing with some players, like, what do you guys think's like gonna happen? And we were all like, Team Liquid 3-0, and we were in this pod, like a sea of Cloud9 fans, and we said Team Liquid 3-0, and everybody was like livid and like in good natured, right? But they were like, angry with us. So yeah, I think that I want Team Liquid to perform consistently at Worlds. That's what I will say. Like, I don't want to see Team Liquid dropping games to Cloud9. Like, I want to see them 3-0 and go into Worlds in dominating fashion and compete with EU and compete with Korea and China and actually show that they're one of the best teams in the world. Because right now, if you're going to 5 games against Cloud9, if you're going to 5 games against Clutch Gaming, and that is that's your playoff performance, like, for me, there's a lot of questions. So questions need to be answered from Team Liquid at Worlds, and I'm excited to watch them play.
All right. Artemis, thank you so much for being on the show. Dorian, thank you as always, and I'll see you guys later.
GG.
All right. Thank you to our gold Patreon supporter, ButtPounder420, Tobias Bernasconi, is Icelandic C9 fan, and thank you to our silver fans, thank you to our bronze, thank you to our iron, and I have a special thank you to, his name is Tex, his name is, oh my god, I know his name, I know his name, it used to be something different, that's why I'm forgetting. He's the person that donated 200. Anyways, thank you to the very, very kind donator that donated $200. Texans, yees, ho ho ho. Without you guys, the show wouldn't be possible. Thank you to all the Twitch viewers. Thank you to all the YouTube viewers. Thank you if you're listening on Spotify. Thank you guys all so much for supporting me. And yeah, I'm so happy that I get to do this show.